Sitting just over 16 miles from the state capitol building, the pride and joy of the Texas racing scene, Circuit of the Americas plays host to race number 3 of the 2025 OB Builders Cup Series for the Thomas Mullins COTA 250. Good evening, everybody. Happy to have you with us. Nick Stein, Brandon Edstrom on the call with Sean Stamp in the production truck as these guys prepare for an early season curveball on the firm of COTA for 65 laps on one of the most technical circuits in the U.S. And Brandon, Circuit of the Americas, probably one of my favorite road courses to drive, but I know you absolutely despise this place here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This racetrack is no joke. Originally built for MotoGP and then eventually getting Formula One, this track is not one for heavy stock cars, and we really look forward to seeing how these guys go around this track tonight, especially with the uphill going into turn 1. We've seen it before, 5-6 wide, and we can see it again. 65 laps tonight, stage 1 at the completion of lap 20, so 21 on the ticker. Stage 2 will also be 20 laps on the completion of lap 40, so 41 on your ticker, and then 25 laps to end out the race for 65 laps total. No fast repairs, 4 tire changes, 100% fuel. Nick, let's get it running.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun race. This track is normally a fast and flowing track for anything that has any sort of downforce. Looking at our schedule here, you can see race number 3, the COTA 250 tonight, and then next week you can see we're at Phoenix as well. But as I was saying, Circuit of the Americas is one of the most fast and flowing tracks in literally any car that has downforce. But then you pull a 3,500-pound stock car out onto the track, and you're just sitting here like, where is my grip? Well, that's Circuit of the Americas for you. This track is incredibly slidey. It eats tires for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And we got some point standings here to look at. Brandon, I'll let you run through that real quick.
Yeah, we got Shane P. Davis sitting P1 after sweeping stage 1 and 2 last week. Tim Wortman Jr. up 10 spots in P2, and Kenny Coppola up 11 in P3. Then you got Randy Mullins, who I know for a fact will be fast tonight. Matter of fact, we'll be speaking to his son, Thomas Mullins, here in a little bit. Brandon Bikey loses a few spots, but you can see Shane Wyatt jumping up 10 with that win last week. That locks him into the playoffs. And the biggest loser last week, minus 13, Caden Norfray. I believe he did not show up, or he might have, but he might have crashed out. I can't remember, Nick. The end of the race was so exciting, I can't even remember what happened last week.
Yeah, 2 straight super speedways tends to amp up the excitement levels a little bit, and then we get to slow it down here with the road course race number 3. Very diverse start to the season for these guys, and this is just another curveball these guys are going to have to deal with here. As you can see right here, that turn 15 complex, the triple left-hander straight into, the triple left-hander straight into the triple right-hander. So very fun track here tonight, and like I said, we're going to get it going here soon.
Well, here's the fun part. Not only will we get to interview Thomas Mullins for the Thomas Mullins 250 here at Circuit of the Americas, but his dad has snagged pole. So now we will get to have a pole sitter father interview and then interview his son, which I think is super neat. So I say, Nick, we get him in here, and here's your pole winner, Randy Mullins, with Nick Stein.
Yeah, you're all about sheet metal pole award winner Randy Mullins here. Absolutely smoking the field in qualifying, Randy. Got him by about 5 or 6 tenths of a second. How are you feeling heading into this race?
Pretty good. Put in a lot of time. Been working on this in Phoenix for probably the last month and a half. So hopefully we could get through turn 1 at the start of the race in both stages and get out of here with the top 5, and I'll be happy.
Well, looking at the start of this race, I mean, you get the green coming out of turn 17, and you stare directly up at turn 1, 133 feet in the air. What's your strategy for defending that inside? Because we already know we're going to see some dive bombs from some people trying to make some positions up early. But what's your defense strategy here?
You're going to have to move left and watch the mirror. But I truly think the top 6 guys, I don't think we're going to run over each other. I think we're going to give and take. I think you're going to see the dive bombs and the big wrecks probably midway, mid-pack, I guess you would say. But I don't think the top 6 will do that to each other, or at least I hope not.
Yeah, Circuit of the Americas is known for eating the tires, especially with that tire temp. What's your goal for keeping the tires in the temperature range here?
You just have to take it easy. You could push for a lap or 2, but then you have to back off. Unlike last year, the tires are falling off, so they are going to make a difference. So you need to keep an eye on that, and you also need to keep an eye on the track temp. So put all that together, kind of just set your pace and go from there and just hope for the best.
Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to us. You got any questions for him real quick, Brandon?
No, I believe we are ready to transition into meeting his son, Thomas Mullins, up-and-coming talent, and we have a little bit of a piece for Nick to read before we get into that.
Yeah,
Well, go ahead, guys, and put him on, and then y'all can just talk to him when you're ready.
Perfect.
All right.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a thing to read off here. Thomas fell in love with racing going to the track with his dad while they worked diligently to prepare his sister's race car. After just 1 year, this 8-year-old fell in love with racing, and Thomas's enthusiasm for racing has allowed him to be very, very successful from what we've heard, especially in his first full-time season here in 2024, racking up 1 C main, 2 B main, and an A main win as well. On top of that fantastic first season, Thomas also takes great pride in working on late model stocks. And speaking with Thomas is actually our own Brandon Edstrom.
Hey, Thomas, it's Brandon Edstrom up in the Ball and TV booth. You got a copy, buddy?
Yep.
Well, boss, after your first full-time season in 2024, you've already had so much success at such a young age. What are you going to do to prepare for this upcoming 2025 season?
Well, I'm trying my best to get these top spots and everything. It's hard to get up to the front. I really got to say good job to everybody who races. They all give me a challenge, and well, it's pretty good to race out here, and yeah.
Well, speaking of racing, how did you end up getting started in racing? I know that you are helping working on your sister's race car, but at what moment did you realize, dang, maybe I want to do this?
When my sister first started, after like a couple of races, I got interested in it. Then I fell in love with it. Then I just became a dirt track racer. Then I moved up to beginner. Then I got to asphalt.
Well, with that, being so young, where do you see yourself in the racing world or the racing community in the next 5 years?
Really gotta stay NASCAR, or like NASCAR maybe. I'm hoping NASCAR, but
Big
I'll
goals.
try.
We love to hear that. Only a few more, and then we'll let you go. Who are the ones that you'd like to thank for helping you get to where you are today?
My sponsors, Sublimited, OB Builders, ATW, Beaver Creek Auctions, A Excellence, and New Finish, and yeah, and Sublimited.
Well, with you saying you want to end up in NASCAR, who is your favorite NASCAR driver?
John Logano, of course. He helped me run fast times and helped me get up here, so I really gotta thank him.
Well, Thomas, thank you so much for your time, buddy. It's awesome to hear from you. Good luck in your racing career, and hopefully one day we get to see you on the big stage, bud.
Okay.
Thank you, buddy.
Yep.
All right, Nick, that was the young and upcoming star, Thomas Mullins. His dad is on the pole, and with that, let's get the starting grid started.
Yeah, starting grid here tonight at Circuit of the Americas. Obviously talked with your pole sitter, Randy Mullins, the number 54. Had high aspirations coming into this week. Thought he could do really good. Goes out and takes pole position here with a 35.485. Alex Coffey get a start to his outside with a 35.933. Headed back to that second row, Kenny Coppola. He had a really good Daytona. Had a little bit of a middling Atlanta Motor Speedway. Looking for a good bounce back week here at Circuit of the Americas. Matt Cox starts to his outside with Victor Pfluger in that 5th spot. Shane Davis rounds off that 3rd row. Colt Blaskowski in the number 8 machine, going to be starting in 7th position with Brandon Fetterplace in the 34 starting in 8th. Barry Sanders starts 9th, and Corey Moore is going to round out your top 10.
Yep, and then starting 11th in that 44 machine, you got Sean Rogers, who was surprisingly fast in practice to his outside, Tim Workman Jr. He was up there running top 5 times, just didn't have the qualifying effort that he'd like to see. Chris Davis in that 74 machine will start on the inside in P13, and Blaine Wilson, who I spoke to before the race, just said he's happy to be here. Don't expect much from him. Starting 15th, Paul Gallimore in that number 11 machine, and then to his outside, last week's race winner Shane White, who I spoke to with before the race, just looking for a solid finish. Last week's win took a lot of pressure off of him, so look forward to seeing him trying to just bring this thing home in one piece, with Justin Belmonte in the 60 car starting 17th, and Nick King starting 18th. And then to round out the top 20, Caden Norfray in the 35, and Darren Mills starting P20.
Starting in 21st is going to be the fellow Lubbock guy himself, Preston Purrier, in that number 99 machine. Nicholas Atwood starts 22nd here tonight. Jamison Middlemiss in 23rd, and look at Brandon Bikey here, an absolute heater of a 6-minute 27.896. Absolutely setting the world on fire there in a number 27 car. But rounding out the rest of your field here tonight, Aaron Matthews in 25th, Jeffrey Taylor, who we actually have a heartbeat monitor and a foot cam for, or a pedal cam for as well, which we'll be looking at a couple of times here tonight. Kevin Ruff starts 27th, Nigel Christensen in 28th, Johnny Stade, Ryan Huff, and Jared Clark round out your 31 car field here tonight at Circuit of the Americas as we get ready to send these guys off for 65 laps here tonight.
Yeah, looks like we're not going green just yet. I believe I just heard the iRacing software say that we're going to have one more lap. Now we are 2 laps for green, but that gives me an opportunity to talk about Shane White. When I was talking to him before the race, he said one that we really have to look out for is his teammate Victor Pfluger. Put in a lot of time this week and apparently has been racing this track for over 5 weeks to prepare for this race and this race alone. And then on the Dig Esports train, talk about Alex Coffey. Fastest practice lap at a 1:35.235. Thought he was going to take the pole, but he said he's feeling good and did have a lot of practice. So we're going to have a lot of talking points here today. Tires, fuel, strategy with the stages. It's going to be a lot of fun to look out for.
Yeah, and speaking of fuel strategy, I can go ahead and look into that a little bit as well, as I raced Circuit of the Americas a lot last week in the iRacing officials when they were there last week, but fuel window somewhere between 30 and 33. Of course, this could be another fuel-saving race, so the more fuel you could save, the better. So that's going to be one thing we talk about a lot here tonight, is how much these guys are going to fuel save and how much time they're willing to sacrifice to save that extra fuel.
Oh, absolutely. And on top of all of that stuff that they have to manage everybody else around them as well. Now, it's going to be no restrictor plate race like we've seen the last few weeks where all the cars are within a second and a half or 2 seconds of each other. But it's going to be a lot more complicated than that. You know, we're going to see gaps 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 seconds, even bigger than that for some of the slower guys in the back. And the thing about that, Nick, is it can be so frustrating as you're a road course ringer and I'm not. And I remember when we used to race in leagues together, I would only be like a second and a half off, and I'm like, all right, during the race, we'll figure it out. And then by God, by lap 5, I'm 25 seconds behind. So a lot of these guys are going to have to mentally stay with it today and just get the best finish that they can.
Yeah, road racing, especially in NASCAR, is all a mental game. I mean, you have to have the right mentality to be able to be fast, and that's not even getting close into the type of skills required to get these cars around the track at a somewhat decent speed. So mentality going to be a big part, like you said, Brandon, but I mean, the physicality of this is going to be huge as well. As I mean, Circuit of the Americas is not an easy track by any stretch of the imagination. Matter of fact, it is one of the most technical courses in all of the United States. So, fatigue definitely going to become a part of this race. It's only 65 laps right now, but I mean, that's still a lot of time here at COTA.
Oh, and they're going to be feeling it by the end of it as well, but we also are on the new layout with 6A, 6B. So instead of, what was it before, 3.2, 3.4 miles, we're down to under that. I believe it's like 2.4, 2.7. I don't know. I'm not very...
2.36, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, 2.6 on the dot. My bad.
2.6 on the dot. And another thing that I want to bring up is this is one of those road courses that is very technical, like you said. I mean, we go to Chicago street course. It's very easy. 90-degree hand turn left, right, so on and so forth. Same thing at Watkins Glen. Not a lot of work to put in. This track demands of the drivers, and it's so easy to get on that pedal and spin these rear tires. And now that they finally fixed the road course tire and there is tire fall off, we're going to see a lot of that here today.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have to watch out a lot for people sliding the tires, especially coming off of turn 1, I believe it is turn 8 the hairpin, which used to be turn number 12. But like I said, this is going to be a very fun race to watch. And of course, these guys don't have to follow the iRacing track limits. These guys will not be punished whatsoever for anything in terms of track limits. If you don't get a cut time penalty for it, it is fair game, is what we heard from Barry Sanders. So this is going to be a fun race to watch as we get ready to go running for 65 laps at Circuit of the Americas. Randy Mullins is your pole sitter as he comes off of turn number 17, and he's going to hit the gas pedal. Green flag out in the air here at Circuit. Actually, he's going to wait a little bit. My fault. But as I said, we'll be coming up to the green flag here at Circuit of the Americas for 65 laps. Randy Mullins waiting for said green flag. There it is. Green flag actually out in the air this time for the OB Builders Cup Series from Circuit of the Americas as they head up towards turn number 1.
We already had a big block to the inside, a big bump from the 77 to the 54. Alex Coffey around up at the top of the turn 1. Kenny Coppola takes second place. Randy Mullins in first, but big news, Alex Coffey already around in turn 1.
Coffey spins at the exit of turn number 1. Randy Mullins away cleanly as they work their way through the S towards that brand new turn 6A complex, heading in towards the middle of the track.
Yeah, coming through 6A and 6B, coming down the back straightaway, which used to be the longest straightaway that we had going into this left-hander. Kenny Coppola looking to the inside, locks up the brakes. He's going to take the lead over the 54. Randy Mullins is going to play patient, back with the crossover. Kenny Coppola apologizing over the radio. Randy Mullins back to the lead. All right, Nick Stein might be having technical problems here, so I'm going to take over for a little bit. Kenny Coppola, after locking up his left front going into that turn, we'll have to see how that plays in. Did he flat spot it? Did he not? Kenny Coppola trying to stay in tune behind him. Again, Alex Coffey spinning off of turn 1. He's all the way at the back of the pack, taking a look at the 53 machine of Victor Pfluger here. He's my pick for today's race. Shane Wyatt told me to look out for him before this race started, and I believe it. Already up to P3. Kenny Coppola, surprise road course racer to me. I never knew him to be a road course racer. Set a fast time here in qualifying as Randy Mullins will lead lap 1 here tonight. Randy Mullins, Kenny Coppola, Victor Pfluger, Matt Cox, and Colt Blaskowski round out your top 5. Looking at a replay here, going up into turn 1 with Alex Coffey going wide. And you can just see all the marbles at the top of the track. We're going to see that a lot here today. You can see him 3-4 wide. Brandon Bikey was already up a bunch of positions from where he started on that restart. As we're looking at Victor Pfluger here in P3, trying to hunt down that 77 through the new part of this racetrack. Well, not new part of this racetrack. This is the West Course. COTA has run it multiple times in multiple series before, but everyone's probably used to the S's, to the uphill, to the downhill, to the hairpin left, and then the long back straightaway, but we do not have that layout here anymore. Again, stages tonight will be lap 20 and lap 40 with 25 laps to the end to lap 65. Looks like Nick King, we have an incident with Nick King out on the racetrack, going back and taking a look at the ball and TV replay. Number 12 Warrior Machine in that Ford coming through. The S's just get spun around all on his own in front of traffic. That will bring out a local caution, but not a full course caution, so we stay green. Kenny Coppola staying up behind Randy Mullins. Randy Mullins not pulling as far away as we thought. Spoke with a few of the drivers last week at the end of the Atlanta race, and they thought that it was going to be a slaughter. They thought Randy Mullins was going to have control of this thing the entire time. But as of right now, Randy Mullins 0.7 of a second over Kenny Coppola, with Victor Pfluger 1.5 behind the leader. As you can see, just like we were talking about in pre-race, you can already see where some of the frustrations will start to settle in. 10th place, Tim Wortman Jr., who was very, very fast in practice, already 9 seconds behind. He drops to 11th. Oh, as we have problems with the 42 machine. That's going to be Cody Moore. He's around up at the top of turn 1. And it looks like that turn 1 is going to be the Devil's Playground here tonight. All those marbles sitting up at the top of the track. Rubber is just going to come straight off of those tires and sit at the top. Kenny Coppola trying to make up a 10th to Randy. Kenny looks like he has better rotation through that turn. But Randy Mullins still leading the race out here as we take a look farther back in the back. Here's the 9 car of Jeffrey Taylor. We will bring up a special feature that we have for him tonight, a part of Beast Mode. I believe we have the foot cam of Jeffrey Taylor along with the heartbeat monitor. 85 beats per minute right now. I'd say that's pretty calm as we welcome Nick Stein back to the booth. Buddy, welcome back.
Apologies about that. Internet decided to kick out at the exact right moment, mid-broadcast. It waited till after we were off the air last week, but decided it wanted to do it a little bit earlier this time by.
I don't think I took a breath that entire time, so we had no dead air. You are perfectly fine. As Randy Mullins has led every single lap so far, on lap 4 now, still 0.7 of a second. But looking at Jeffrey Taylor here with this cam, this is sick. He was joking with us before the race, saying, I'm going to put on the neon green socks just for you guys. You can see the footwork that's required, downshifting, rev matching. But a lot of these drivers, what we won't see with this car that we saw on Sunday, we will not see a lot of the heel toe. Just a lot of sim racers don't do the heel toe method, Nick, as we saw Shane Van Gisbergen doing on Sunday.
Yeah, the heel toe, it's very interesting when you actually sit down to think about it. And I mean, it comes down to, I mean, in sim racing, it's the gearbox isn't as fragile as it is in real life. I mean, there's just no way of getting around that. So there's no reason really to heel toe unless you're trying to do it for the realism. So just no point in having to do it. I mean, I know there's some people that do it. I mean, you look at some big streamers that do it. Jimmy Broadbent does it in heel toe every time he drives NASCAR. But like I said, there's just no real need to do it like that in sim racing. So yeah, it sucks a little bit because it takes away from the realism. But I mean, it also makes a lot of sense as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the only time I've ever really seen an engine or anything blow like that in iRacing with a downshift is, I mean, if you're obviously completely over revving it. But as we see, Kenny Coppola is starting to fall off a little bit here. He held it 0.6 of a second as long as he could, but now he's falling into the grips of the 43 machine of Victor Pfluger up here in P3. Randy Mullins starting to pull away, but this is where consistency is key, Nick. I mean, we've seen it time and time and time again. You can be consistent for 2 or 3 laps, but it's those guys who have the heads on their shoulders that really, really get it. As actually the 54 machine locks it up going into turn 1, but we got a replay here.
Yeah, and you see right there, locks it up. Coming off of turn number 17, drives it through the grass. That was actually Preston Puryear on the number 99.
That looks oddly similar to what happened last week, except he went off the track on his own, but the incident between Austin Cindric and Ty Dillon coming up off the turn, waiting for everybody to come back. But I'm pretty sure there was I believe it was an A Open race. I can't remember where I saw it, but someone was coming up off that last turn. I think it was actually the Xfinity race. I'm starting to lose my mind. But they were off in the grass trying to stay out of the way, throttled up, and just came back in front of the field in front of everybody. But also getting pushed off the track there can also be very frustrating. Looking at Alex Coffey now, who spun up in turn 1 on the first lap, already back up to 15th after starting P2.
Yeah, it's going to take a big comeback for that 19, but he's lucky in the fact that he gets 2 stage cautions to bunch the field back up. And yeah, that 19 car, it's quick. It is a very quick race car, but he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to catch up to that 54 of Randy Mullins, who's pulled about another half second or so over the 77 of Kenny Coppola. But Brandon, you mentioned earlier, this is where the consistency starts to come in. This is where the fatigue also starts to set in a little bit as well, because you're past the first 3-4 laps where you can actually run some fastest laps. Now the tires are starting to fall off. Now the heat is starting to actually affect the grip in the tires, and it's starting to set in that you're going to be here struggling with these tires for the better part of the next 25, 26 laps. So this is where the mental game really starts to set in, especially at a track like COTA.
I'm just glad that they're making it to lap 6 before it starts to settle in, because by God, after the first lap, I was already over it. When we used to race road courses together, I just couldn't do it. Just something about, I know that the road course racers have these different, the different eyesights, right? Like an oval, you're always looking out in front of you, but at road course, looking at the next apex. So you're not even necessarily looking at what's in front of you, because it's not like super speedway racing where you gotta, look over the spoiler through the windshield to see where you're going, like last week and the week before.
Jr.
Oh, Tim Wortman Jr. having trouble in that 83 machine. He was really fast during practice, so I know that he's gonna hate to have that mistake come through. But like I was saying, yeah, I mean, just the overall aspect of having to look at the apex of the corner instead of looking at what was in front of you always drove me nuts, Nick. And maybe as a road course racer yourself, you can kind of explain to the people at home what the difference is versus oval racing sight and visions. The oval, you're pretty much just watching the front end of the car, watching to make sure the car rotates, listening to the tires and all that other stuff. But at road courses, you're looking at the apex before you're even in the corner.
Yeah, that's something that's a big difference. Like I can go in depth on both ends a little bit, but with oval racing, you're always told, look where you want the car to go. That is the thing you're told day one in oval racing. But road racing is a completely different thing. Especially in higher downforce cars, which is where I'm, that's my specialty, is the higher downforce prototype cars, but it goes across all forms of road racing. Look where you want to be in 3 seconds. That is how you have to race at road courses. You want to look where you're going to be in 3 seconds. So a lot of the times that's going to be past the apex. So here we're riding on board with Tim Wortman Jr. If we can get that on board back real quick. You look through the S's. I'm already looking at that next apex. I'm already looking a couple corners in front of me, and now I'm already looking to set up my entrance at the 6A right here. So that is exactly how you have to think when you're in the car, especially at a road course. Through here, you're like, all right, get through cleanly and get through and get set up for turn number 9 here. And then now I'm already thinking about turn number 10. As soon as I get into this corner and get out of it, I'm starting to think about where I want to be for turn 11. It is a very, very difficult mental game here at a road course, and when you're driving a car like this, that just adds another layer of difficulty to it as well. So, I mean, this is a very, very difficult combo, and it's very admirable to watch these guys run it.
Yeah, and I know, unlike oval racing, I learned this the hard way from you and our teammate Alex Murray. I know in road course racing, the car in front of you, you never really want to look to see where they're braking. You want to have your own braking points and everything else. But on oval racing, that's also a little different, because with tracks like Martinsville, where you can get accordioned up, you can't run the same brake point as you would if you had clean air. You have to back it up so that way you don't accordion to the car in front of you and cause a wreck in front of them and in front of the car in front of them. But at road course racing, you really don't want to pay attention to where other people are braking, because everyone's brake points are different. Now, I know it's a little different if you're right on, you know, the rear bumper of the guy, but two completely different ends of the spectrum. So I love that NASCAR has created this schedule and that these guys have followed, that we have 2 super speedways and now a road course, and then we're going to Phoenix next week, and then we're going to Vegas. So really nice schedule changes throughout the year that I think will probably make this one of the most exciting seasons for this league and NASCAR going forward.
Now, you mentioned something in that last little monologue that I want to kind of add on to just a little bit, just to put our viewers into the mind of the driver for just another second here. You said something of not everyone's going to have the same braking point, and that is the truest thing you could have said there. But that brings another mental point, and this is another another spider web of different things, different strategies, and all that stuff. You can focus when you're sitting like let's take Shane Davis for example. He's been sitting behind this. I believe this is off the rear end. I cannot tell who that is off the rear end of. Victor Pfluger. So Shane Davis, he's been sitting behind Victor Pfluger for a while now, probably 2, 3, or 4 laps now. He has been memorizing his braking points. If he's a good road racer, which I know he has been memorizing where Victor Pfluger is braking. He wants to know exactly when Victor Pfluger is going to get on the brakes. And here into turn 1, I guarantee you he knows exactly where he's going to brake. He's going to pop out right here, and I thought he was going to make a move, but usually if you're that close, you would want to try to make a move up into turn number 1, but I do get it's still a little bit early in the race. But like I said, you're memorizing braking points, and that's going to allow you to know where they're weak on the track. So if you sit behind somebody for a few laps and you memorize their braking points, memorize what they do in every corner, you know exactly where you're faster than them and where you can make a move. Because there's this old saying that not every corner is an overtaking opportunity, but if you have enough confidence, any corner can be an overtaking opportunity.
Yeah, and and you can see where Shane P. Davis, to maybe viewers at home or other drivers who only do oval, you can tell that he made a mistake going into 1, because you were narrating it like, okay, he's going to know his braking point, and he did, but I don't think Shane was anticipating him braking where he was, because that's not Shane's braking point, and you could see the front end of the car stomp to the ground a little bit harder as if Shane was reacting to him on the brakes as Victor Pfluger locks up. But that's a great point of what we were both just saying, right? Don't pay attention to where the guy is in front of you is braking, because He almost did, and he almost got into the rear end, but Pfluger all over the place. He locking up. He's going to let Shane Davis go. Coming to the halfway point in the stage here, and for the people asking, yes, there are stage cautions here tonight. Lap 20 and lap 40, and then we'll run the last 25 laps to lap 65.
Yeah, so some very even stages. We're not going to see any green flag pit stops, unfortunately, here tonight, which is where this race gets really interesting, because then we can start talking. If we did get green flag pit stops, we'd be able to start talking about overcuts and undercuts, but since we're not going to have any pit cycles, no point in getting into that conversation. So that's one thing these guys don't have to worry about, which is the fuel saving aspect at all. If this was a full-length race, then yeah, they would, but like I said, it adds a little bit more fun to it because they're not having to they're actually able to race and not having to worry about fuel saving.
Yeah. So from someone who's not a road course ringer to a road course ringer, I've seen Randy Mullins lock up his left front going into one about 3 or 4 times now. We're halfway through the stage. Is that going to affect his tires at all, or what do we think? Do we think it could slow him down? Because it looks like Kenny's starting to catch him a little bit. Kenny's faster in some places, Randy's faster in the others, but I have seen Randy lock up a few times going into one now.
Yeah, locking up, I mean, that's all going to... I mean, it depends on how bad the lockup is. If it's a long lockup, then yeah, that'll definitely affect the tire's performance as you get further and further into the run. But, I mean, a couple lockups here and there, that's not really going to do much. But depending on how much and how long he's locking up for, that could jack the temperatures, especially of that right front or left front, depending on which one you lock up. And that's all just going to compile if you keep locking up the tires. So as long as you're able to manage your lockups, then you shouldn't have any problems with tires.
On board with Shane P. Davis here, going to go on board with him dually style, as we can see. Look at Shane's rig. He's got the road course wheel on, good posture. Let's take a look and listen to his braking point as he goes into turn 1. And that's another good point, Nick. Just coming up off of turn 1, I mean, you can't see a damn thing coming up over turn 1. It is unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I'd like to say as well is, I mean, if you're going to be a good road course racer, you have to know the track like the back of your hand. You have to trust that the track is going to be there. So coming off of turn 1, especially at COTA, I mean, you have to believe that it is going to, basically go to the right for turn number 2. So you just basically have to know the track basically with your eyes closed, if that makes sense.
I remember Sonoma 2011, I think, when Hamlin, his hood came up over and he's like, I don't know where I'm going. And the spotter's like, you should know the track with your eyes closed. I'm not telling you where you're going. You should know it with your eyes closed. That's a good point. Randy Mullins, Kenny Coppola's cut the gap a little bit.
Yeah, I've been watching it. It's been pretty stable right at about a second and a half, 2 seconds. It'll fluctuate kind of in between there. So, I mean, Randy Mullins, I think he's trying to conserve his tires a little bit. I mean, I went back and looked at it. He had a couple of big lockups, so he's probably trying to get those tire temps back down into a serviceable range. And, of course, with the way this new tire model works, especially with the Cup car, it is a lot more dependent on that temperature range. So there's going to be times where you feel like you have no grip, and then the next lap you feel like you have all the grip in the world. So, oh, man, look at those brake rotors just lighting up there through the apex at turn number 1. But like I said, I think he's just trying to conserve a little tire temp here.
And here's where some more frustrations can settle in as well. As we were saying earlier, it was 10th place that was about 8 seconds back, but looking through the field now, 15 seconds back to 6th, 22nd back to 10th, which is Blaine Wilson, who I talked to, like I said, before the race, and he's just like, all right, well, let's just get through it. So I don't know if Blaine is exactly happy to be at COTA, but you know what? Top 10, like I always told you, Nick, when we were racing, if I could finish top 10, by God, I'm the happiest man in the world.
Yeah, Circuit of the Americas is a track that's universally loved or universally hated. There is no in between. People either love or hate this track, and it is, in my opinion, probably one of the best tracks on iRacing in terms of what it takes to actually race here. It takes a lot of skill to race here, so that's probably why a lot of people don't like it.
As we are looking back at Alex Coffey, who spun up in turn 1. Last time we checked in on him, he was P15. He's now up to P12, maybe even P11, as he's going to make the move to the outside here. Randy Mullins coming up off of the last turn. Kenny Coppola, yeah, it was 1.9 about 5-6 laps ago. It was 1.4 at the start of that last lap, and now he's down to underneath a second.
Ooh, Coffey to the inside of Gallimore here at turn 16. Gets to the apex first and actually completes the move before they get it down to 17. Coffey's moving on up. He's about to be back into the top 10.
Yeah, don't count him out of this. I know he's driving the tail off of that thing just to get it back up there because he knows that he can win this race. I think everyone knows that he can win this race. Very talented sim racer. Very talented real-life race car driver from what I remember his mom telling me back in the WRL. Kenny Coppola almost goes off track up in P2, gets his right side tires on the grass, almost goes for a merry-go-round into the outside barrier, but keeps it clean and on the racetrack. And like you said, Nick, no penalties for going off the course for none of that. But I guess we got a replay coming up. Ooh, man, happened again. The 12 car got sideways on his own earlier on in the race, and there he is getting loose once again. But that's just part of the road course racing, Nick. That's just part of road course racing in general. Like we were making a point earlier, you just get too hard onto the gas too quick, and you're gonna go around.
Yeah, road course racing is very, very difficult thing to be able to be good at. It's one of those things that it's difficult to get good at, and it's even harder to master. So these guys that are up front racing as hard as they are, I mean, Randy Mullins, Kenny Coppola, and Shane Davis right there as well. I mean, these guys all have a lot of skill, and I can guarantee you it's taken them a lot of years to be able to hone in and actually be good at road courses because it takes a lot of work, especially at a place like here. It takes a lot of work to be good as Coppola smashes one of the turtles through turn number 3 there, loses a little bit of time to Randy Mullins and allows Shane Davis to become just a little bit bigger in his mirror.
Man, they're beating the hell out of these curves here at COTA. Lap 465, Randy Mullins leads. Coppola, Davis, Fluger round out the top 5 with Blazkowski, Fetter Place, Rogers, Sanders, and Wilson rounding out the top 10. Man, I already know for a fact that seeing this dominance in stage 1 by Randy Mullins, but being able to see Coppola come back towards the end, you just have to beg the question. Let's say Kenny Coppola is right on his rear bumper coming to the stage. Stage 2's the same length, with that last stage being 25 laps, Nick. Can we maybe say that Coppola's got the long run speed along with Shane Davis, and maybe Mullins would be farther up if he wasn't locking up going into turn 1? Or there's so many variables at a road course that I can't even comprehend, and that's why I hate racing on them. Love watching them, hate racing them.
Yeah, I've been watching Randy Mullins. He's managing the gap right now. That's all he's doing. I wouldn't say that any one driver here in this group of 3 racing for the lead are faster than anyone else, but Randy Mullins, he is definitely conserving here as we have someone lock up into turn number 1. They're off the track at the top of turn number 1. Didn't catch who that was, but as I was saying, Mullins, he's managing the gap right now. He's managing his tires here in about a lap or 2. If Coppola starts to get a little bit closer and start looking like he wants to make some moves, Mullins will pick it back up. But like I said, it's just a game of management right now.
Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. That car going off into turn 1 was my ghost car. I tried to make a lap, and it did not go very well.
So you're telling me you only made it to turn 1?
Barely. Didn't even make it up the hill. All right, and it looks like we have the YouTube chat going crazy for the 54 machine for Randy Mullins. Had a great interview with his son, Thomas Mullins. Very well-spoken, nice young gentleman, 8 years old, up-and-coming, racing at Millbridge. Races Bandolero and karts, likes working on all sorts of stock cars. And I asked him his 5-year goal, Nick, and he said NASCAR. Now, if that boy can get to NASCAR in 5 years at any given level, I'm going to lose my mind, because that would be extraordinary. I love the young generation nowadays that can still stay locked in off of their phones, make goals, and succeed at those goals. And to maybe people on the outside, that seems like such a reach, but every kid has a dream at some point, and that kid deserves to have every single person believe in him for him to make that goal. We shouldn't shoot those goals down by any means, as we have a big lockup.
I believe
That was Jeffrey Taylor, I think, on the lap down.
Oh, and Kenny Coppola almost spun it off of turn number 1. Actually loses a spot to Shane Davis.
Yeah, that was huge. That was big. We saw someone locking up because we were on board, I believe, with Kenny Coppola, and I thought that it was Randy Mullins locking up. I thought it was Randy for a second.
I believe it was Jeffrey Taylor that locked up into turn number 1, and then Coppola almost spun it coming off of turn number 1, which allowed Shane Davis up into second place. And we get a replay here. Tim Wortman Jr., actually Barry Sanders and Blaine Wilson getting into it. Arrow on Gig Esports Violence.
Is that not almost the exact same thing that happened between Ty Dillon? Yeah, Blaine just forces him up. I mean, obviously Barry at that point has nothing that he can do because he's already sideways, just trying to lean off the car to get him straightened out. But Blaine gave him the bump, and the 81 got him back across the track. Looks very similar to what happened between Cindric and Ty Dillon, but that was just blatant.
Yeah, if we could get a slow-mo replay, if we can get a slow-mo replay, I can explain why Barry Sanders didn't have any control over his car, because there's a little bit of a hump coming off of turn number 17 where the car gets incredibly light, which is why the car always gets loose off.
Yeah, it's horrible. I know exactly what bump you're talking about. Yeah, car's light right there. Just, I mean, he happens to be at the quarter panel of the 18. That's just racing. It just happens, unfortunately. Both cars will be around, and man, Blaine Wilson was putting the drive on for his life. And then the 81 gets involved as well, but I think everybody else came through just fine, as we have Tim Wortman Jr. coming down pit road.
Yeah, a little bit of a pre-stage pit stop here. I believe Wortman didn't think he was going to get any stage points here, so figured, why not pull it down pit road, get some fresh tires, and we'll have some track position at the start of stage number 2, as pits are getting ready to close here the next time they pass the finish line, which the leaders are going through the turn 12 triple left-hander right now.
Well, that's the thing. He is fast. In practice, he ran a 1:35.899 and then ran a 1:37 in qualifying. Tim Wortman does have the speed to be up there, and this might be smart for him. He's not going to go a lap down. Ride around the track until the stage is over. You only got a few more laps. Run slow times. Take care of those tires. Clutch in. Save a little bit of fuel, because you know that you can run a full stage without having to pit for gas. So
here comes Shane Davis down pit road. I was getting ready to get an onboard of him real quick just to see if we could figure out if he's just wanting to sit behind Randy Mullins or actually wanting to pass him, but he just decided to pull it down pit road, and I believe Kenny Coppola pulled it in right behind him too.
Yep, Kenny Coppola in behind him as well.
So that moves Victor Pfluger up into that second spot in the number 43. Matt Cox moves up into the top 3. Colt Blaskowski and Sean Rogers will round out your top 5 once they come around, but a little bit of strategy being played here early on.
Yeah, and Mullins locked it up going into turn 1 again, but we're going to take a look at a replay here of Shane Davis passing for P2 on Kenny when Kenny almost got all sorts of out of whack. Takes that turn a little tight. Ooh. Oh, what a save by Kenny.
Yeah, and that's another spot. That's another spot where the car gets incredibly light, incredibly quickly, because you may be going straight up to 133 feet at the top of turn number 1, but you're also going straight down about 80 feet heading down into turn number 2. So it's that old saying, what goes up must come down. And for Kenny Coppola, yeah, he wasn't able to manage that transition just right, and the car got all squirrely on him.
And we have Z in chat. We got Z in chat, Nick, and he said, what happened between Barry and Blaine Wilson would be mean to you at any other road course, because I'm pissed that you're lapping me.
Oh man,
Nigel Christensen getting into the 5 machine.
That's Aaron Matthews in the number 5.
Oh
Oh, man.
I mean,
I think that's... Is that heading into
I don't even know where
turn
that is on the
16?
racetrack. It all looks the same. It all looks the same.
That was heading into turn 16. I think Christensen got to his outside. A little bit of contact there between Matthews and Christensen. Does Matthews squeeze him a little bit on exit? Yeah, he does. Oh, yeah. Matthews squeezed him.
I don't know, and that looks a little different to me. It looks like the 5 is coming up on an awkward angle, coming up off the turn, and Christensen was trying to turn back right for the line into the next corner, because you can see right here, the 5 comes up, and then the 20 turns down. So, I mean, yeah, the 5 came up and the 20 went down. At first, it looked very, very, very intentional, so thank you to our producer for showing replays multiple times. But I think that's just a racing incident. One guy's trying to get off the corner, and the other dude's trying to set up for the other corner, and that's just what happens. You meet halfway, and things happen.
Yeah, and here comes Randy Mullins coming around to lap some cars here. He's getting ready to lap the 2 of Darren Mills, and he's got Aaron Matthews, who was just involved in that accident, right in front of him. But Randy Mullins is coming around to take the white flag here in stage number 1. Mullins has led every lap to this point and has not had much challenge for the lead at all. But white flag is out in the air, and there is nobody near him. I think the nearest car is Victor Pfluger, who's almost 8 seconds off of the 54, so not much challenge unless Randy Mullins runs into any sort of opposition here trying to get to the finish of the stage.
Yeah, and we're not seeing a lot of strategy like we do in the NASCAR race, where a bunch of people end up pitting before the stage break. So we're going to have to see where it puts all of these guys at the end. I do just want to say, I did not see this at all, and I don't know what happened, but Brandon Bikey did disconnect. He is no longer in this race. He is out.
Honestly, I have no idea. We saw him spin on the pace lap. He's 12 laps down right now. Jared Clark's down 15, and Nicholas Atwood is down 18. So we've had 3 retirements here in this first stage, but not sure what happened to Brandon Bikey. Preston Purrier has just pulled up behind the wall as well. He's done for the night too.
You said he spun out on the pace lap? Brandon Bikey did?
Yeah, we had it, I believe, on our on camera as well. He spun on the pace lap, if I'm not mistaken. I thought I caught that.
Oh no. Oh,
it was Brandon Bikey in the 27 who spun, but get back up front real quick, because Randy Mullins is coming around turn 16, getting ready to take the checkered flag for stage number 1. Passing Whataburger turn number 16, heads into turn number 17. Get back on the gas one time cleanly. Randy Mullins wins stage number 1 here at Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, what a dominant stage from him. Victor Pfluger, Matt Cox, Alex Coffey. After spinning up in turn 1, he's going to get stage point. Sean Rogers rounds out the top 5. And we have 27 seconds until these boys cross the line, so we might see 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th change.
I was going to say, we have to wait for Shane Davis, who is your 10th place runner, to cross the finish line before we get this caution for the stage. He's actually coming through turn 17 now, right on the back end of the 11 of Paul Gallimore. But Shane Davis takes the final stage point of stage number 1 here at Circuit of the Americas. We'll run you through your stage finishing order real quick. Randy Mullins takes the stage win, takes home 10 regular season points and 5 playoff points. Or is it 1 playoff point for the stage win or 5? I can't remember.
Hell if I know.
Okay, well, Brandon knows about as much as I do. Anyway, Randy Mullins takes home the stage win. Victor Pfluger comes home in 2nd spot. Matt Cox in 3rd. Alex Coffey makes it back up into that 4th spot before the end of the stage. Nice comeback for the number 19 after spinning at the exit of turn number 1 on the first lap. Sean Rogers in the number 44 Beast Mode machine comes home in 5th spot. Colt Bliskowski moves up 1 spot, finishes 6th place in stage number 1. Brandon Fenderplace also moves up 1 spot, finishes 7th. Chris Davis moves up 5, finishes 8th. Paul Gallimore in 9th, and Shane Davis finishes 10th in stage number 1 after pitting with 2 laps to go in the stage.
Well, with all that being said, what a race it's been so far. I just want to make a point that Randy Mullins was locking up really hard in that first stage. So we'll have to see how that gets handled going forward. But we're gonna throw it to our partners here at Ballin TV. 54 Ballin on Ballin TV, leading every lap so far.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back live here at Circuit of the Americas as we just finished stage number 1 here in Austin, Texas. Randy Mullins takes home the stage win. I don't think we have gotten to pit stops just yet for these guys. I think they're coming around to actually come down pit road for the first time, but caution is out for the end of stage number 1, so we'll get these pit stops out of the way, get them re-racked, and get going for stage number 2. But Brandon, what'd you see in stage 1? What'd you like? What'd you not like?
Well, what I saw was a lot of guys doing what they just need to do, and that's just take it easy, you know, hit their braking points as we see them start to come down pit road. I was going to make a point before the race that Austin, Texas is the comedy capital of the world, and I expected to see a lot of funny business because of just how much negativity we had coming into this week from some of the drivers not happy to be here. But some of those drivers that weren't happy to be here are doing very, very, very good. So no funny business, some self-spins here and there, but we didn't see a Ross Chastain on lap 1, which was the one thing I didn't want to see. Everyone's being very respectful to each other. You can see on the left side of the screen the guys that pit before the stage, and everybody else coming down pit road gonna fill her up and get 4 fresh Goodyear tires.
Yeah, the main players that stayed out under this stage break who pitted before the end of, or before pit road closed, before the end of stage number 1, Sean Rogers, Matt Cox, Shane Davis, Kenny Coppola, Tim Wortman Jr., Barry Sanders are the ones who decided to stay out. Randy Mullins is going to pretty handily win the race off of pit road, so he'll come back out in, I believe, about 6th spot in that number 54 machine. But like I said, strategy becoming a big part of this race early on. Lap number 23 here at Circuit of the Americas should have another lap or so of caution before we get back racing, but things have been mixed up front. I'm excited to see how this second stage is going to play out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Looks like we have a replay from last stage. Let's take a look and see what happened.
This is
Down
Darren
here.
Mills in the number 2. Oh, catches a bumper from Nigel Christensen.
That looks oddly similar to what happened with the 20 car of Christopher Bell and Kyle Busch last year at COTA. The car in front of him was just a little slower, and the 20 machine gave him the bump. And again, it's just one of those frustrating things at road courses, Nick. We've seen contact with the next-gen car. We've seen short tracks. We know that these cars can beat and bang. We even saw it in the Coke Series I believe it was last week at Las Vegas. Michael Cozy sent it in deep into turn 3, ran the guy over in front of him, beat the hell out of his bumper, and the car still didn't spin up. But at these road courses, like you've been saying, where there's these bumps and you have to be light on the throttle and the car gets light, you're just absolutely going to lift up that rear end and send them for a ride.
Yeah, and that's the one bad part. I mean, especially in that section of the track. When we get back to green flag racing, I want to get like a cockpit cam if we can, like an actual driver's eye view, just to show how difficult that turn 15 complex is. I mean, obviously you have the turn 13 and 14 complex, which is right before it. That's difficult in its own right. But I mean, turn 15, that triple left-hander, that is such a tight corner that you really don't see the apex until you're right at it. So it is very difficult to judge distances through there. And like I said, once we get back to green flag racing, I want to try and get a driver's eye view and see if we can if I could kind of describe it a little bit better at speed. But like I said, it is very, very difficult once you get into that stadium section.
Well, let's see how Randy Mullins handles traffic here as well, being out front the entire time, and now he has traffic to deal with once we go back green. So I'm interested to see. And one other question I wanted to ask you, Nick, as you know, obviously I'm not very good at the road courses. Does the dirty air affect these cars as much on a road course as it does, say, you know, when we go to Phoenix in a corner or Las Vegas in a corner?
Yes and no. It's different on a road course than how it would handle on a oval. The overall effect is a little bit less on a road course, but in my opinion, you feel the effects more so than you would on an oval. So overall, the effects are less. You can run behind someone. It'll just heat up your tires a little bit more, but you definitely feel it a lot more than you would on an oval. So it's a very, very, very tight line to run. So like I said, you feel it a lot more. Just not, I don't think it's overall dirty air is as effective as it is on an oval.
Yeah, and I want to say with that shot that we just had, I promise you, around COTA is not that green. It is not that green at all. They have all sorts of work going on there. I'm waiting for them to add the Ferris wheel and the roller coaster in the background. And I don't know. It's just one of those things in sim racing that you really like to see when we did the, whenever we watch the 24 in real life, you see the Ferris wheel, and then in iRacing you see it, and it's like, by God, what's that doing over there? So I'm interested to see what they're going to add to this.
Yeah, and March is rainy season in Texas, but rainy season doesn't start until late March. So it is definitely not this green at Circuit of the Americas, trust me. I used to live about an hour from this track, so like I said, not this green in early March, but get it to late March, and yeah, it'll probably be this green, which, fun story, I went to the first ever NASCAR race here at Circuit of the Americas. Yeah, our producer just said monsoon. Yeah, let's put it like this. That is the coldest and wettest I have ever been in my life. It was so cold. It was like 45 degrees on Sunday with just a ton of rain in the forecast, and yeah, that was not fun. But it was a fun race to be at, but it was just not fun to sit there.
That was when MTJ, I think, almost killed Cole Custer on the back straightaway.
When he went barrel rolling down the back straightaway.
Scar was like, we can't do this no more. We can't. We got to get him off the track.
Oh, man, you should have heard the crowd when they announced that they were shortening the race and Chase Elliott was in the lead. That is the most boos mixed with cheers I think I've ever heard.
Well, I'll tell you what, 45 degrees in rain, I'll take that any day over minus 10 degrees and 45 inches of snow in one storm. New England, we got a global warming, please. Global warming. Go back green.
Brandon managed to bring Vermont into this conversation. He's managed to do it tonight. Anyway, we're coming back to the restart of stage number 2. We'll stop messing around here. We'll get back to serious business here as Matt Cox going to be leading the field back to green flag racing, and we'll see if I can have a better restart call than I did on that initial start. But coming through turn number 17 to 32 of Matt Cox. Waits on the gas, and he's going to go. Green flag back out in the air here for stage number 2 at Circuit of the Americas as they work their way up the 133 feet up to turn number 1.
Yep, the reason why I think the call got botched the first time is we're so used as we see 3 wide on the inside. That's Randy Mullins, Wortman Jr. on the outside. But I think the reason why, and there's Calamity right there, all of them, the Calamity effect going into turn 1 is ridiculous. But I think the reason why, Nick, is because we're so used to that start-finish line being shorter than it actually is. And now with the start-finish line being moved a little bit down the front straightaway, the restart zone's right there, but they got to wait for the drop of green for the start of the race. So from now on, you are correct. It is that restart zone.
Well, there was also the fact that I was also in the process of my internet going out, so everybody was blinking in and out, and I couldn't really see what was happening for the first 2 or 3 laps until my internet eventually did kick out. So that is the reason that first initial restart was so bad.
And here we see Alex Coffey working to the inside of that 42 machine. He's trying to get back up front after spinning up at the top of turn 1, lap 1. Alex Coffey up to P12. Paul Gallimore in front of him. Matt Cox still lead, already out to a 1.1 second lead. Now 9/10 over Sean Rogers. Shane P. Davis, he stayed out on a different G. He was really competitive with Randy Mullins at the start. But Nick, I think what we should do is, instead of just going on board for one section, we should do an entire onboard for the whole lap, so that way you can kind of walk us through what it's like.
Yeah, I could sit here and commentate a lap pretty easily here. Just let me know who we're going on board with, and it's actually Shane Davis is coming off of turn number 17. This track is actually a pretty calm point right now. You're actually sitting able to breathe for a second, but heading up into turn number 1, you're gonna look for a little dirt patch on the track, brake right before that, drop it all the way down into first gear, shifting as quick as possible in order to get as much engine braking as possible. You're gonna cut the exit as tight as you can to set up for the entry at turn number 2. And heading down through turn number 2, quick little lift, short shift into third gear, heading into 3, 4, 5, and 6. Just teeter on the throttle, try to get the car settled through there. Downshift into second gear, heading into turn 6 and 6A. Keep it in second through here, then through 7A and 7B. It's actually Alex Coffey. That's actually Matt Cox is going to spin as Shane Davis gets to the inside of Sean Rogers for the lead now, heading down into turn number 9. Going to get the lead that number 79 is. We'll get that full lap here in just a moment, but Shane Davis up into the lead, passes Sean Rogers as well.
It's
Get a
terrifying looking at
replay
the
here
replay.
for Matt Cox as he's heading through 7A and 7B. Just gets it all wrong. Too much entry speed, and that number 32 goes for a ride.
Yeah, that's terrifying. It looked like he was entering 6A and 6B a little too hot. I was about to say something, but I didn't want to interrupt you. I mean, Buddy was hauling going through there, and I thought he was just going to miss the corner. I didn't think the car was going to do what it did and snap out on him like that.
Shane Davis coming around to lead his first laps of the night in that number 79 Beast Mode Performance machine. He's followed by Kenny Coppola, Sean Rogers right behind them. Beast Mode Performance 1, 2, 3 here at Circuit of the Americas, but Randy Mullins is threatening the 44 of Sean Rogers, looking to get back up into the top 3.
And you know, I do want to say we just went back green 2 or 3 laps ago. And I want to make a point that with the caution laps that we had, this stage will not quite be 20 laps. So Shane P. Davis could actually win the stage on this track because Mullins is 2.1 seconds behind him. And I don't think I ever remember a time where Mullins was 2.1 seconds ahead of Shane P. Davis at all in that last stint. So maybe that's something that Shane Davis just thought about going into the next stage. He's like, all right, well, if it's at lap 20 and we get the stage caution, we go around once or twice and then another lap after, I mean, that plays perfect into his hands. So we might see a lot of people catch on to that for this next stage.
Yeah, and we'll go on board with Sean Rogers here, just to get a driver's eye cam. We'll come back to you here at turn 10. Turn 11 right here is the little kink, and then now turn 12 is a triple left-hander. You see, look, you can't even see the apex until you're nearly there unless you have your FOV very far back, but turn 12, very difficult. Now you head into the triple right-hander of 13, 14, and 15 before attempting to set this car up. Look how light this car gets through here. And you set up, try to get over to the right as much as you can for turn number 16. Hit that curb, bring it out towards the AstroTurf, and you for another lap here at Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, that's a crazy, crazy, crazy lap. I mean, it's ridiculous. I could never keep the car on the ground at this damn place. It was ridiculous. I was spinning out top of turn 1, going down, going through the S's, curb hop, get about 15 feet of air, somehow land on all 4 and keep driving. It was a disaster. So it just goes to show how talented the guys in this league are. And still looking at Sean Rogers here. He's on a different strategy as Davis and Mullins. Mullins still, he was 2.1. Now he's up to 1.5.
Yeah, and Mullins is in a stretch of this race right now where he's stuck in a little bit of traffic. It is incredibly hard to pass here at Circuit of the Americas. You basically need someone like right there. You need someone to make a mistake as Randy Mullins takes it to the inside of the 44 Sean Rogers. But basically to pass anywhere here, you need to have a really, really good run into a braking zone, or somebody needs to make a mistake in front of you. And right there, Sean Rogers gets a little bit too out of sorts off the exit of turn number 8 there, and allows Randy Mullins back up into the top 3, where he's going to go chase down after Kenny Coppola now.
Yeah, from 10th on back, I'm seeing a lot of brake smoke. A lot of these guys are locking up and really aggressive, trying to... Oh, we have a spin Shane Wyatt around. At the back of the pack, Shane Wyatt. He just got spun around.
Gonna replay as quick as we can, but Shane Wyatt, after winning last week at Atlanta, not having a good appearance here at Circuit of the Americas. We'll see here. Oh, yeah, gets too hot. Going into triple left of turn number 12, just not able to get it slowed down in time.
Yeah, and if you could, for the viewers at home, kind of talk about like straight line braking, especially at a place like this. Like, I know you can trail brake and all this stuff that will help, but you want to do a majority of your braking in a straight line before you get into a corner hot like that.
Yeah, especially with a corner that has 3 distinct apexes you need to hit, like turn number 12. And if we could get another onboard heading into that complex, I can kind of run you through it. But basically, with how this car works and how heavy it is, you have to brake in a straight line going into this stadium section. You cannot trail brake very much, but we'll get on onboard with Victor Pfluger here right behind Sean Rogers. But you see, this is turn 11 here. He's actually going to make a move to the inside of Sean Rogers and nail that turtle curb. But right here, you want to brake right at the end of this curb, and you want to brake in as straight of a line as possible. And you're pretty much already off the brakes as soon as you're starting to turn in, because if you're turning while you're on the brakes, you're going to lock up and you're going to go straight on. So you need to get all your braking done in a straight line, or else you risk locking up and just going straight past the corner.
I could never in my life could I ever do that for some reason. Shane P. Davis locks up a little bit coming out of the last corner, second to last corner, coming back onto the front straightaway. And Shane Davis is looking really, really good. Randy Mullins, it was down to 1.5, and now it's back to 2.8, 2.9 reading on the scoring pylon.
Yeah, that's just the tires and their heat cycles, especially here at COTA. The heat cycles, Mullins locks up just a tiny bit getting in to turn number 1 there, but these tires cycle very easily, so they can get really hot and you feel like you have no grip for 2 or 3 laps, and then they'll cool back down and you feel like you have all the grip in the world. So it is a very confusing tire to drive on.
By God, Nick, we have a legend in the YouTube chat right now. Crazy Chuck from the Purple Jesus Moonshine, the sponsor of last week's race. He's in chat. Hello, Chuck. Thanks for tuning in.
Crazy Chuck is here.
Crazy Chuck is here. I got to get me a bottle of that stuff. Well, I know it's going to seem a little different. Me and Nick over the past few nights have been talking about how we like to call things, and me and Nick just have really good chemistry in the booth, and there's not really a lead. Nick is a lead. I'll lead at some points, like we saw early in the race when he dropped. I'll ask him questions. He'll ask me questions. So I know it's a little different, but let us know in the YouTube chat if you're liking the flow of what we got going on. It's definitely a lot of fun always calling races with you, Nick, and now working with Sean, great producer, up-and-coming producer under the wing of DJ and all that stuff, has his own company as well. So you'll have to check out some of his races. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Ballin' TV. 29 people watching. Keep up the YouTube chat. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. So, Chuck, thanks for tuning in. Thanks, everybody, as well, for tuning in. And, Nick, we have ourselves one hell of a race. It's actually pretty good. I thought it was going to be pretty bad. Every time I see iRacing road course race, it's pretty bad. But I guess we have a replay of Justin Belmonte.
Yeah, Justin Belmonte, number 60. Sitting down in, I believe, 15th place right now. Coming through 11 here. Oh. Just disappears, it looks like.
Is he a magician? That's crazy. He just made a multiple thousand-pound stock car disappear, and now he's magically back on track. You gotta love it. But that's another point that I want to bring up too, is that that can be terrifying, Nick. Like when you're going into any racetrack, a road course track or anything, when you have someone disappear like that, at any given point, they could end up right in front of you, or you know their car could be inside your car, and then for some reason the game glitches and it creates contact. But I feel like at a road course, it's a lot more terrifying than anywhere else, because at least at you know, a short track or whatever, you know, it's just, it is what it is. But here at a road course, I mean, if you're in the middle of trying to make an apex and all of a sudden buddies to your inside, that's going to mess up your whole corner, and you're going to lose a lot more time than if you just simply check up at a short track for a half a second.
Yeah, it's a very distracting thing, especially when you have a consistent blinker right in front of you. And of course, if you're not, oh, as somebody goes spinning there, I believe that is the number 12 of Caden Norfree, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, it was Nick King in the number 12. That's my fault.
You know what they say about bad luck, Nick? It comes in threes, and that's the third time that he's been around on his own. So he now has, I can imagine, a dark cloud over his head, because I'll tell you, it is incredibly frustrating when you keep making mistakes. And obviously, everybody in this league is very talented. We haven't seen mistakes out of this gentleman at all throughout the year, but it's the same spot. It's the same spot each time where that car gets light, Nick. So at that part of the racetrack, if you could just kind of explain to everybody why that might be happening.
Yeah, like I said, it's that 11-12 complex in the stadium section. It is just such a difficult corner to get right, lap in and lap out. I mean, turn 11, you get in, you hit that curb, and you get going back out. That is a very slick part of the track. Like, that is the slickest part of this track. So the second that you start getting on the gas, you can already start to feel the rear tires coming out from under the car. So it takes a lot of throttle management to get through that section cleanly. But if you just get the tiniest bit too much throttle there, oh, man. Ah, man, who was that? I think that was Cole Bleskowski in 17th having to take some avoiding action there, as Justin Belmonte gets in a little bit too hot through 8. But this is that section I'm talking about. It is very slick through here. And then, of course, the second you get done with 11, you're immediately having to turn in for turn 12. So it takes a lot of throttle management to get through that section. And if you just get it the tiniest bit wrong, it's going to send you around very quickly. This is a very, very punishing track.
So you were very, very helpful with your onboard of talking about, you know, how the track works and everything like that. But if we could, I would absolutely love to do a crank it up session. Just keep being able to hear these cars upshift, downshift, hit the curbs, on all that other stuff. So Nick, I mean, if you're down.
I am totally okay with a crank it up real quick. Get some onboard shots of these cars. Just let the viewers at home see how difficult this place is to drive. So we'll send it to a crank it up. We'll shut up and let the engines take over for a little bit. A little bit of a volume warning for those of you who decided to turn up and listen to the Crank It Up. We'll bring it back to normal here. Of course, you saw through that Crank It Up, watching this battle between Randy Mullins and Kenny Coppola. Coming off of 17 here, Coppola is really quick off of 17, and I think that's where Randy Mullins is struggling right now. He just cannot get a good run off of turn number 17, because turn 1 is the best passing opportunity on this racetrack, but Mullins just cannot get a good run out of 17.
Yeah, and we've seen Shane extend that lead to almost 3 seconds over Randy Mullins, who I think is the biggest threat right now. But we made this point earlier. You have cars in front of you. Your car's going to handle different. It's not going to be as bad at an oval or anything else like that. But still having a car in front of you, it's still like what we were saying earlier, right? You're looking 3 seconds ahead. But when you have a car in front of you, you can't necessarily do that. And that's where having to remember the track back of your hand comes into play. Because when you have a car as wide as this car is in front of you, you're just not going to be able to see your apex, and sometimes mistakes are going to be made. So Randy Mullins just trying to get back up there. Everybody said, all the drivers last week said, we're so excited to come here and watch Randy Mullins absolutely slaughter the entire field. But right now, I think Shane and Kenny are giving him a run for his money.
I'm proud of you, Brandon. I am proud of you, Brandon. You're starting to pick up on the terms of road racing, but we'll go ahead and take it down the field real quick, or we'll run you through the field real quick. As well, I believe it is 26 cars still running here tonight. Actually, 27 cars running tonight. So we'll go in increments of 10 here, and we'll run it through the field. Obviously, your race leader right now, Shane Davis, in that number 79. He had himself a pretty quiet stage. Number 1 decided to come down pit road before they closed pit entrances, and is now leading here in stage number 2. So he decided to sacrifice the stage points in stage 1 for a little bit more here in stage number 2. Headed back to second place, Kenny Coppola. He's been there for the majority of the night, just sitting in that second spot. In stage 1, he was behind your third place driver, Randy Mullins, but now sitting a couple of seconds off of a Shane Davis. He's had himself a very consistent night. Your stage 1 winner here, Randy Mullins, in that third spot. He's just been trying to get around Kenny Coppola for the better part of the last 3 or so laps here, and just has not been able to get past that number 77 machine. So a little bit of a struggle there for Randy Mullins. Headed back to fourth place in that number 43 machine, Victor Fluger, who said he put multiple weeks worth of practice in for this race, and it looks like it's doing him well, running up in that 4th spot. Heading back 1 spot behind him in 5th is going to be the 44 of Sean Rogers. I believe he started a little bit further down the field tonight. Yeah, Sean Rogers started in 11th place, running in the top 5 here late on in stage number 2. Right behind him, though, the man who spun on lap number 1 coming off of turn number 1, Alex Coffey back up into 6th place, eyeing a top 5 here. So Alex Coffey still trying to complete the comeback and get back up to where he was to start this race. Back in 7th place, Barry Sanders in the number 81 machine. He's had himself a pretty quiet race. We really haven't said his name much. Of course, he had a little incident earlier on in this race, and he's worked his way back up into number 7th. Right behind him in the Red Bull-looking machine is the number 83 of Tim Wortman Jr. sitting in 8th position. Another driver who's just had a really quiet race here tonight. Not much to report on the 83. He looks like he has himself a pretty good car. But back in 9th place, Brandon Fetterplace, one of your dual winners from earlier this year. Another driver who's had a quiet race. There's a lot of guys in this midfield that have had very, very quiet races, and Fetterplace is kind of at the top of that list, as we haven't said his name in a while. But rounding out your top 10 here tonight is Matt Cox in the number 32 machine. Of course, he did restart first here at the start of stage number 2 and ended up going off after about 2 or 3 laps, but he's worked his way back up into 9th place, and that's your top 10.
Yeah, then you got Chris Davis, nicknamed Seabiscuit, out here running in 11th spot. I think he's actually up to 10th now after a slip from Corey Moore. In the 74 machine, he's running good tonight. Then behind him, we have Corey Moore in that 42 machine. Good run for him as well. A lot of these guys were not excited to come here, so to see them running inside the top 15 is always a good day. Then Paul Gallimore, who I get one pass for race. DJ said he was getting hit like a son of a bitch around Atlanta all last week, and he was turned around, he was hitting the wall, still came back, trying to make that inside line work. Good to see him running up inside the number 12 spot. Then you got Jeffrey Taylor, neon sock foot cam tonight with the heartbeat sensor. He's made a few mistakes almost went, or he did go a lap down earlier on, but good to see him back up here in 13th. Then in 14th, you got Gavin Ruff, that nice looking, beautiful car. And then behind him, another man who spun earlier on in the race who said he's just happy to finish and get this race over with. Blaine Wilson up in 15th. Good day for him. Colt Blazkowski, we've seen trouble with him as well in that 8 machine. He got off track a little bit earlier, and that seems to be a theme here, Nick, is that all these guys can get turned around and still get back to it. Aaron Matthews, who started 25th, he's up to 18th. 17th is Colt as well. Nigel Christensen, we've seen him involved in a few incidents earlier on in the race. And let's see what's going on here. I got my scoring all looped up. Here we go. Aaron Matthews here, 18th spot in that 5 machine. Trouble between him and the 20 car earlier on in the race, but it seems it has been settled. And then rounding out 20th, another driver, a common recurring theme back here in these ranks, Nick. 20th car, Shane Wyatt, last week's winner.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and run through our final 7 cars real quick as we are coming up to the end of stage number 2. Sitting in 21st place is the 45 of Johnny Shade. Was looking like he was going to have himself a pretty decent race last week at Atlanta. Got caught up in some mid-race trouble. Ended up not finishing that race. He's running 21st right now. Nick King in the number 12. We saw him have a little spin through 11 and 12 earlier on in this race. He's sitting in 22nd. Caden Norfree a minute off the lead, sitting in 23rd position in the number 35 machine. Ryan Huff in 24th, in the 24, funnily enough. He sits a minute and 4 seconds off the lead. And the first car 1 lap down is in 25th position. That's Darren Mills in that number 2 machine. He's just had himself a rough race tonight. He spun a couple of times, and he's been hit off the track a couple of times as well. Sitting in 26 is going to be Jamison Middlemas in that number 16 machine. Newcomer to this league. His first race was last week. He's just looking to get his feet wet in this league and get set up for the season. And your last car running right now is actually the number 60 of Justin Belmonte in that number 60 machine. He's actually been sitting on pit road for a couple of laps.
Yeah, Shane Davis, Kenny Coppola coming down pit road. Nick, this is what I said earlier about the strategy. With those stage laps running 2 or 3 laps, I mean, there is no pressure to run hard right here. Just file in, do what you need to do, and the strategy will work out just like it did in the first stage. I'm actually surprised Mullins didn't try to mix up the strategy, but we might see him come down pit road this time. I'm just surprised with how well that strategy worked that maybe no one tried to counteract it later on in this race, because we're only adding 5 laps to the next stage. And to be honest, if this were the last 5 laps and Shane P. Davis were still out on the track, I don't think Randy Mullins would have had enough speed to get up to Shane Davis.
Now, here's the problem with pitting, especially early on, especially here in stage number 2. With it being a shorter stage, technically because of the caution laps at the start of this stage, the field's a lot closer, so there's not as much of a gap. Shane Davis actually fell down to about 13th position, so he's got to work himself through 3 cars just to get back up into the stage points. So that's the one problem about pitting, especially at a road course before the stage end, is you can get caught in traffic and not be able to get any stage points out of it. Shane Davis was able to get 1 in stage 1. I don't know if he's going to be able to get any here in stage number 2, as Randy Mullins has officially taken the white flag here in stage number 2.
Yeah, I don't think Shane Davis is thinking about stage points. He's 29 points above the second place points right now. That's Tim Wortman Jr. Randy Mullins, he's 33 points behind the leader, 1 point behind Kenny Coppola for third. So I can definitely see where he's going to stay out to get those stage points. But I don't think Shane Davis is thinking about stage points. I'm thinking that he's thinking he wants to win. He wants to be locked in like everybody else. He's shown so much speed throughout the first 2 races and now in this race, and he found something with that strategy in the first stage. So for this second stage and then the third and final stage, I think we should keep an eye on him.
Yeah, he'll be definitely the guy to keep an eye on, especially as we get into the middle part of stage number 3, as that's where he's probably going to have the biggest advantage. But the man we're keeping our eye on right now is Randy Mullins, working his way through turn number 12, coming around to take the win here in stage number 2. He's going to work his way through 13, 14, and 15 as he works his way around the Circuit of the Americas tower. There right in the center of that turn. He's going to come down into turn number 16. Kind of fell into winning stage number 2 here, but he dominated stage number 1. He's going to come around turn number 17 here, and he's going to sweep the stages here at Circuit of the Americas. Randy Mullins takes stage 1 and stage 2 as he takes the checkered flag here to end off the second stage. And now we got to wait for 10th place to come across the line before the caution gets thrown. But Randy Mullins picks himself up his second stage win of the year.
Yeah, and the drivers will start to file in behind him. We have about 32 seconds until the 10th place car comes across the start-finish line to end the stage. You're looking at Tim Wortman Jr. coming across the start-finish line in just a second. And it's so fitting that the father of the son's name, who is the namesake of this race, Thomas Mullins, 250 at COTA, sweeps both the stages. Now he's looking to win the race that the race is his son's named after. So still waiting on the stage caution to come out, but this is where it starts to come in, Nick. The yellow comes out, and now we're going to pace around for a lap, wait everybody to catch up, come down pit road, and then do another lap. So I think Shane Davis has that strategy in mind.
Yeah, we'll go and run you through our stage 2 finishing order. Randy Mullins, of course, sweeps the stages here tonight. From Austin, Texas, Victor Pfluger finishes in second in here in stage number 2. Alex Coffey works his way back up to third there in stage number 2, finishes in third. Barry Sanders in fourth. Tim Wortman Jr. finishes in the top 5 here in stage number 2. Brandon Feder plays right behind him. Chris Davis in 7th. Corey Moore finishes 8th in stage 2. Paul Gallimore. And Shane Davis actually ended up getting a stage point here. He's managed to get 2 stage points here on the night using this alternate strategy. He has finished 10th in both stages. He rounds out your top 10.
All right, and with that, I want to thank you everybody for tuning in to Ballin TV's coverage, the Thomas Mullins 250 at Circuit of the Americas. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back for pit stops in the last stage here at COTA.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
And we welcome you back here to Circuit of the Americas. Just finished up stage number 2 here at the track, and Randy Mullins ended up taking said stage win, sweeps both of the stages on the night. And we're getting ready to get some pit stops going here, as this should be the final set of pit stops for a lot of these guys. So I guess you could call it a money stop for lack of a better term, but still got about 24 laps to go before we crown a winner, but Randy Mullins going to lead him to pit road.
Yeah, Randy Mullins going to lead him down pit road. You're going to see Shane Davis stay out here. He's going to resume the race lead, and that's really going to help him. But one thing that will help him more is seeing how many cars behind him stay out. Kenny Coppola stays out, and it seems like everybody else coming down pit road. We're going to focus on Randy Mullins here to see where he comes out, see if we have any takers. I mean, Nick, like you said, we're in the pay window of this race. We could see somebody take 2. I don't think it's the right move to make, but hell, when you're in that race car and you have an opportunity to jump some spots, you might as well try.
Yeah, Randy Mullins gonna go up on the jacks here. 4 tires and fuel for that number 54. Actually had some people take fuel only here, because I believe that is Brandon Fetterplace and Tim Wortman Jr. deciding on fuel only here. Mullins maybe has some damage that he has to get fixed there. Saves a couple of seconds in his pit stall. They're going to lose 4 or 5 spots there, but Randy Mullins going to be mired back in a little bit of traffic here.
Yeah, and look, my guy who I picked before the race, Victor Fluger, I don't know why he was so quick off of pit road. I don't know if he took 2. I don't know if he took 4. I don't know what, but he ended up beating everybody off pit road. And then, of course, we had Shane Davis stay out. We had Kenny Coppola stay out. Sean Rogers stay out. So, all right, now it's time to go back to the YouTube chat. Everyone who's watching right now, give us who do you think is going to win the Thomas Mullins 250 here at Circuit of the Americas. Now, you asked me last stage, Nick, what I saw in stage 1. What did you see in stage 2?
Well, obviously, we saw a lot of Shane Davis dominating here in stage number 2. Led that from, I think, about the time he took the green flag till he decided to come down pit road a little bit earlier there. But throughout the rest of the field, I think I saw a lot of fatigue start to set in here. We're 43 laps into this race, so that is not a short time, especially even with this shorter circuit. That is still a very, very long time. We've been racing for just over an hour since the drop of the green flag. But like I said, I saw a lot of fatigue starting to set in, so that'll be interesting to watch as we race a couple of extra laps here towards the end of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody go give love to Stam Studio Network as well. Go give a like and a subscribe to that channel as well. That's our producer's channel. And Sean's been doing a wonderful job these past few weeks producing these races. He's a lot of fun to work with. He's a hoot to be around. He's certainly one of my favorite producers to work with. A lot of fun. And, well, let's see, Nick. Shane P. Davis, can he hold off everybody else? Kelly Coffey says that she wants her son Alex to win, but Randy's hard to beat on the road course. US America says Randy is winning hands down. He'll put $100 on it. All right. I expect $100 when the race is over. Thank you very much. And Mike says 54 is killing the road courses. No, I agree. Mullins is going to have to put a drive on because he came off a pit road late, and he had a little bit of a struggle passing Kenny Coppola in the end of stage 2. So him having more traffic to go through is going to be a lot more difficult than just Kenny Coppola.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to be restarting in about 11th place, if I'm not mistaken here.
Alex Coffey starts in front of him. He's making his way on a comeback as well.
Randy Mullins going to be restarting in 11th. This is the furthest that 54 has been all night, so he's got some work to do. A lot of these guys that decided to pit also have a lot of work to do. Alex Coffey has some work to do. Victor Fluger has a little bit of work to do as well. But it's going to be between these top 4 who stayed out heading up into turn number 1 right now. That is kind of where I expect your contenders to be right now. I mean, obviously, all 4 of them stayed out here for the stage, so they obviously go to the front here. But like I said, I feel like anyone in, I don't know, top 5 or 6 has a chance at winning this race right now, I feel like.
Yeah, and let's take a look at the ticker. 22 to go will be coming to 21 to go when we go back green. And that's a case that we've been making all night. Shane Davis undercutting the stage to pit and take that race lead. Now, like you said earlier, before pit stops, we're in the pay window. Are we going to see that 3, 4, 5 wide that we're used to? And if Randy Mullins has a shot, is he going to try to send it into turn 1, knowing that he's one of the best road course racers in the field, knowing that he has that control, and not be Ross Chastain? Sorry, Ross, I hate to call you out for like a 3rd time already. But are we going to see that? Do you think we're finally going to see it?
Yeah, I definitely expect aggression to pick up here. I mean, you're coming up to the end of the race. This is this is your last opportunity to make a big splash in terms of gaining positions. So, do not be surprised to see somebody getting a little bit too confident heading into turn number 1. But they've been able to keep it clean for the majority of the race. But like I said, this is the last opportunity to make a big splash. So, do not be surprised to see a little bit of aggression heading up towards turn number 1.
Well, a prime example of a mistake is, let's go back I believe it was a year and a half ago to the Chicago street course when I got a good restart on the inside, starting in like row 5, passed everybody, and then totally forgot that I had to brake and turn left for the corner and killed 2nd place, 3rd place, 4th place, and 5th place. So you definitely don't want to do that here at COTA, but the aggression is going to kick up. I asked you, I knew what the answer was going to be. I think we all know what the answer is going to be. I'm just super excited to see it because this is why COTA is so interesting. You have such a wide front straightaway, and then going into turn 1, it tightens up, and you really got to set up early for the next corner. So super excited to see on this restart who is going to take it.
All right, get ready. This is where these drivers make their money. Final restart of the night that is absolutely planned. No clue if we'll actually get another restart, but this should be the final restart. Shane Davis has control on that front row. Gonna wait just a little bit here off of turn number 17. Hits it a little bit later. Green flag back out of the air here at Circuit of the Americas. They're gonna fan out here. Headed up into turn number 1. Randy Mullins already looking to the inside. Further back, they are already 3 wide. Mullins to the inside.
Oh, there he goes. I thought he was going to shoot it into the inside of Victor Pfluger, but he didn't. It looked like he was about to take it 4 wide. Alex Coffey making his way back up. Tim Wortman Jr., this is who I said we needed to look out for early on as well. He was fast in practice. We have a spinner in the back of the pack.
Oh, we got someone spinning further back. Couldn't catch who that was, but we had one car go spinning off at turn number 2. We'll get a replay as soon as we can for that, but like I said, someone goes spinning off very quickly at turn number 2.
Yeah, I saw that. I called it out. I was like, oh, they're spinning in the back of the pack. Oh, Shane P. Davis gets loose at the front of the field. Kenny Coppola almost passes him on the inside, all over his rear bumper. Now we're seeing mistakes from everybody. Kenny Coppola all over the back bumper of Shane Davis, with Matt Cox waiting in tow behind them. Will he make another mistake? That's the last thing you want to do when you're on his strategy, is get those tires hot like that.
Oh, we had another car in the very back who spun out heading into 12, and it looks like he decided to tow it as he's no longer on track. I didn't quite catch who it was. We have a lot of things to unpack here, because I think this would be the... didn't quite catch. Oh, that was Chris Davis. I think.
The 74, Chris Davis, he got around somehow. Oh, Alex Coffey, damage on the front straightaway. He's slow. He's getting passed by 2 or 3 cars on the inside. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he got off the track or what, but he let 2, 3, 4 cars by. At least it looked like it was Alex Coffey. My God, I almost had a heart attack. All I could see was on my monitor, his right rear looked like, I couldn't tell if it was sparks or rocks coming off the tire with the new model and, you know, the grass model and everything that they have. So I couldn't tell if it was sparks or what, but he looked slow. They took him 3 wide to the inside, and now Alex Coffey losing a few spots.
Okay, we have a lot to break down here. Yeah. A lot has happened in the last lap or 2. We had
Wortman slowed down too.
Yeah. We had Chris Davis spin at turn 2. We had somebody spin going into turn 12. Still haven't figured out who that actually was. And then, of course, Alex Coffey off of turn 17 hits the outside wall and loses a lot of spots. We'll try to figure out who that was spinning in turn 12.
Taking a look at the replay here. All right, let's see. Oh, big hit from Nigel Christensen. That's 4 cars. That's the 8. The 23 of Shane Wallet, Nigel Christensen. We're looking back at a replay. Just for everybody, we were looking at Shane Wyatt. We didn't know if something was wrong or what. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah, I figured out who it was. It was Blaine Wilson. Blaine Wilson is the one who spun at turn 12 on the restart.
So Blaine Wilson spun turn 12 on the restart, and then Shane Wyatt, Nigel Christensen, and the 8 machine of Colt Blazkowski all getting into it, and whatever turn that is, I can't even tell you what turn it was. We've had incidents in every single corner since going back green. And we told you the aggression was going to pick back up. The commentator's curse strikes again. I'm telling you, Nick, we need to just stop talking about the race in general and just talk over the race in the background. I hate jinxing these boys. You can see Shane Davis Now 4 cars underneath a blanket. Shane, Coppola, Cox, and Rogers.
Yeah, looking off the rear end of the 79 of Shane Davis there. You can see how close the margins are here. And yeah, you can see you see that straight line braking I was talking about through 12. See people taking that wide arc to get as much apex speed as possible. Now working through the triple right of 14, 15, or excuse me, 13, 14, and 15. Man, this is just such a beautiful track. Such a flowing track.
Absolutely. Oh, we have another incident with Aaron Matthews. Let's take a look at that.
Replay here. Maybe. Here we go.
Man, the dig guys and the aero guys have been at each other's throats all night. And I know it's not intentional. Oh, and then Chris Davis gets involved at the end there. But man, we've seen a lot of contact between these aero guys and the dig guys. I mean, obviously it's not intentional. It's just road course racing, right? So we'll have to tune in next week as well to see if anybody decides to take it personal or just understands what's going on. But man, it is starting to pick up here, Nick.
Yeah, definitely starting to pick up. We have crossed 20 to go here at COTA. Actually, I believe we're at 18 to go, if I'm not mistaken, if my math is right.
Yep, 18 laps to go. And one thing I do want to bring up is we saw Randy Mullins struggle in traffic in that last stage, Nick. 6 seconds. 6 seconds. I don't know if he can come back from 6 seconds. We saw as the run went on, he couldn't get past Kenny Coppola, and Shane Davis had 2 seconds. But now Shane Davis has 2 seconds over Kenny Coppola right now, and he still has 6 cars to pass before he even gets to the rear bumper of Shane Davis. So with 18 laps to go, I don't know, Nick, unless we see a drive of a lifetime, it might be over.
Yeah, more than likely the chase is over for Randy Mullins. That is a very hard gap to bring down. I mean, we saw him at 2.5 seconds struggling. Now it's at 6.7 as they're getting ready to cross the timing loop again. We'll get an updated gap for you. 6.688 for Randy Mullins that he needs to make up to get up to Shane Davis. So it is going to be difficult. There's always nothing is impossible, but right now it's looking very bleak for Randy Mullins to win this race.
We got Victor Pfluger battling Sean Rogers here, coming through the S's. Alex Coffey in tow behind him. Oh, and there we go.
Turn.
Oh, Alex Coffey.
I believe that Alex Coffey, or was that
was
Mullins
Alex,
that got damaged?
No, that was Alex Coffey. Damage on the front end. Man, just as we were starting to see a battle heat up through the S's, Pfluger and Sean Rogers get together, and now look at the front end of Alex Coffey's car. All tore up.
Yeah, that car, that Camry is a lot sadder than it normally looks.
Stop. Stop.
If you couldn't tell, I do not like Toyotas in NASCAR, but Brandon is a diehard Toyota fan, so.
Oh, don't even get me started. But no, on that replay, they're side by side through the S's. Victor could have given him maybe a foot or so, and Rogers could have turned in earlier. And, I know that big old yellow turtle is a concern, or whatever that thing is that's yellow on the inside. But you can see right here, Pfluger gets on the yellow. And then right here, he starts to turn in a little early. Yeah, just road course racing, Nick.
Yeah, just nothing any of them could have done. I mean, battling for position late on in a race, and sometimes stuff like that happens. Pfluger had himself a really good race going. Looked like he was going to be able to get a top 3 out of this, but just unable to get completely through it clean. But like I said, he didn't lose too much time.
Yeah, and because of that incident, Randy Mullins has gone from 6.8 to 8.1 seconds. So that definitely did not help him trying to make up time. So Randy Mullins is going to have to dig in deep if he wants to get back up there. And even Shane Davis, 3 seconds over Kenny Coppola, 4 seconds over Matt Cox, and then 7 seconds back to Alex Coffey, which, regardless, even if his Camry's looking sad, the driver's got to be happy on the inside of that 19 car with that spin in turn 1, lap 1, coming all the way back through the field, getting stage points in both stages, and then being able to finish in the top 5. That'd be something else. Oh, just had Barry Sanders come over the radio and say someone was a piece of work, so we'll have to keep an eye on that.
Sometimes you just got to respect Barry Sanders. Sometimes you just got to respect him.
Oh, absolutely. I believe him, too. I believe him. Sitting there at P14. His car's all tore up.
That tells me someone probably got into him.
Look at that.
Replay.
We got a replay for it. I don't know if he said the car was uh-oh.
Oh, boy.
Oh, no.
Oh.
He sent him. He said, oh, no, he sent him.
Oh, Blade
no.
Wilson. Payback. Was it him and Barry Sanders that got together earlier?
Yes, it was the both of them. Man.
Oh, that makes the situation look so much worse.
Well,
But update real quick. Randy Mullins has gotten past both Tim Wortman Jr. and Alex Coffey in the last lap.
yeah, still 8 seconds behind. 9 seconds behind now. So he's up to P4, but 9 seconds with 15 to go. I mean, that's going to be a lot of work.
Here's the curveball. He has clean air now. He has a lot of it, too.
Clean air.
He's got 5 seconds worth of clean air. 5 seconds worth of clean air right now.
Yeah, it's just it worries me when he gets up to Kenny. Is Kenny held him up so good in that second stage that if he can make a move, an aggressive move, which we haven't seen Randy be too aggressive tonight, but that's just kind of the racer he is, respects everyone around him and respects the car, because in order to win these races, you do have to respect the car. You can't beat the hell out of it. So if he can get past Kenny Coppola, it will be certainly one heck of a race. But I guess we got a replay with Paul Gallimore.
Look at this replay here. Sends a dive bomb from the previous postal code and goes a little bit too deep.
Oh, that's a Kurt Busch send.
Spins it out there on the exit.
The one thing I will say with all the incidents that we've seen so far today, yes, drivers may be getting into each other, but one thing I have noticed is that everyone has been very respectful, getting back onto the track, not pulling out in front of people, because we've seen it in officials, Nick. iRacing is known. I even showed you a clip last week. When someone wrecks, they're not paying attention, pull down in front of traffic and ruin everyone else's race. So good on these men for doing what they need to do and be respectful to their other competitors.
So you want to know how much clean air is worth real quick, Brandon?
Absolutely.
Randy Mullins, when he was in dirty air, the 3 laps he was in dirty air, 36.9, 36.7. First lap in clean air, a 35.7. Fastest car on the track right now is Randy Mullins in clean air.
Yeah, went from, oh boy, 8.8 to down to 7.8, so a whole second. Now, if he keeps this pace up, he can get there. But it's when he gets up to these other cars that it's really going to start to drag his lap times down, unless he can catch them at some of the spots, the big braking zones, where he can just dive it in there, maybe make a little bit of contact and move him out of the way, because I know he wants to win this race.
Yeah, riding on board with the 54 of Randy Mullins. Just, man, this is just poetry in motion here. One of the smoothest driving styles I have personally seen. And wow, he is just so smooth on the wheel. He's sawing out it a little bit, but you kind of have to through 13, 14, and 15. Like I said, he's just being smooth on the car, not really letting the tires slip out from under him. And he's going to come around to set another heater here. See what this lap time is. 35.771.
Yeah, went from 8.8 down to 8 even. So, I mean, he's still making up time, but he needs a lot more time than what he's putting down right now. And I know at a track like this, it's super difficult. I know tracks like maybe Watkins Glen would be a little easier because there's just so many points where you can dive bomb the car. But this is a true road course. This isn't a gimmick track. This isn't a simple road course. I mean, like you said earlier, Nick, this track flows really well, but it is one of the most difficult road courses in all of North America.
Yeah, it is one of only 2 circuits, actually. Fun fact, only one of 2 circuits in the United States that is FIA Grade 1. The only other track in the the only other permanent racetrack in the United States that is FIA Grade 1 certified is actually Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which we also head to later this year.
I have no idea what that means, but it sounds like pilot terms, but for race cars, so I'm going to pretend like I have any idea what you just said.
In layman's terms, that basically determines whether F1 can race at that track or not.
So it has to be super safe, is what you're saying.
Yeah, there's a lot of different factors that go into determining an FIA grade status for a racetrack, but there's 3 grades as far as I know, and a track can receive either one of those 3 grades. Just it all depends on the safety measures of each track. So it goes into how much runoff does the track have? Does it have Armco? Does it have concrete walls? Does it have tire barriers? Where are the tire barriers? Where are the Armco barriers? How safe is this track if someone is to go off at high speed? And COTA is actually the safest track in the United States in terms of how FIA has gone through and graded a lot of the tracks here in the U.S.
Someone's cheating the test at Monaco. I can tell you that right now. Someone's cheating the hell out of that place because
there's different rules for street circuits. There's a different set of rules for street circuits.
Yeah, Monaco is terrifying. I never want to that place. I'd go to watch, but I would never want to drive a car. I mean, even just when that track is, the streets itself, it still looks like it's terrifying to drive. But 12 laps to go. Randy Mullins 7.5 didn't eat as much into the gap that last time, so Randy Mullins really going to have to get on board with Jeffrey Taylor here. Shane Davis 3.5 seconds over Coppola, Cox, Mullins and Coffey, which round out your top 5. Pfluger, Wortman, Rogers, Fetterplace, and Taylor round out your top 10. Nick, with 12 laps to go, is there anything that you're seeing, that you're liking, that you're disliking? Anything along those lines?
I really like how Shane Davis is driving right now. I've been watching him for the last couple of laps. He has really picked up the pace. Just ran a 35.703, and Mullins just ran a 7.42. So Shane Davis and Randy Mullins are your fastest cars on the track right now, but there isn't a lot that I haven't liked to this point.
All right, checking back in on the chat. Kelly said in that last wreck, with those dig boys involved, he was in a dig sandwich. Z says good luck. He's going to talk to us later, Nick. And DJ, the founder of Balling TV, put a poll up in chat. But he also said that Jeffrey Taylor has the most stable heart rate that he's ever seen, which I agree. Because, Nick, I don't know if you remember when we used to league race back in the days, I would tell you I'm freaking out. Like, I'm having heart palpitations, I'm freaking out. But sometimes a lot of people have a lot more composure than others, but sim racing can be just as exhilarating as the real life thing. I mean, we're not racing bots. This isn't NASCAR heat. You're racing real people with real talent, real speed in an open setup league where every single person can adjust the car to their liking, as Tim Wortman Jr. almost goes around. But kind of tell us, like, how difficult that can be. A fixed setup league versus an open setup league, just for the people at home understand that, yes, they're all racing the same equipment, but in real life, yes, setups ultimately matter, but how they prepare the car does as well. With iRacing, everything is bone stock. Everything's exactly the same. The underfunded teams will not, that doesn't exist in this. It is all setup based. So kind of talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, with fixed setup leagues, it gets a little bit interesting because with the fixed setup, that basically just means everyone's running the exact same setup, and it's all down to driver skill is going to determine how fast you actually are. But in an open setup league, nobody is really going to be running the exact same setup. I mean, obviously you have setup shops, you have Ryko, Team Conti, Premier, just to name a couple. So you have a little bit of that representation here, especially at the top of the field. I believe the Beast Mode guys, if I'm not mistaken, I think they're a Premier team. I'm not too sure. Could be wrong at that. Please don't hurt me, any Beast Mode supporters, because I'm not too sure off the top of my head. But like I said, when it comes to open setup racing, it really, really puts the skill gap into racing. Because, I mean, obviously you can just go buy a quick little setup from a setup shop real quick, or you can make your own. So that's where open setup racing gets really fun, is you just have a lot of different options for if you're struggling with tight, you can change something real quick, loosen it up a little bit. If you're struggling with loose, go the other way and you tighten it up a little bit. So it really opens up the playing field.
Yeah, and remember a few years ago when we had Chris Hacker on here, when we were doing the MPI Xfinity Series, and we were talking about setups. Sometimes you can just absolutely break a car with a setup on iRacing that would never be set up like a car in real life, and it just gives you the ultimate advantage. And that's really the only downside that I see. But I prefer open setups much more. Lap times are through the roof. The handling can overall improve. We've seen some fixed setups that have been absolutely botched before. So, I mean, great call for these guys doing an open setup league. But at the same time, really got to throw the talent onto the drivers. These guys race their butts off every week. They show up every week, consistent, clean. We saw a few wrecks at Atlanta and a few wrecks here, but we haven't seen anything like we've seen in other places, Nick.
Okay, I actually got corrected. The Beast Mode guys are Team Watson. I forgot Kenny Coppola builds for Team Watson. That's my fault. I do apologize to Team Watson. Didn't mean to step over you guys like that, but I did want to bring it back just a second real quick. I decided to go nerd out for a second, Brandon. You want to know some of the tracks in the United States that are FIA Grade 2?
I don't even know what that means.
That's the second highest grade you can attain. And I actually figured out something else too. In order to obtain grade 1 license, the track must be at least 3.5 kilometers long, which, if I'm not mistaken, is about 2 miles, 2.2 miles, somewhere around there. Could be wrong, but like I said, some of the grade 2 tracks in the United States, Road America, Road Atlanta, Sebring, and Sonoma are some of the grade 2 tracks. So some of NASCAR's most popular tracks right there, not quite able to get that FIA grade 1 status.
Yep, Indy will be heading there later in the year, but thankfully we will be going to the oval version of Indy. The road course was horrendous. You cannot change my mind on that. Another thing, another place where we're going, Sonoma, July 16th for this league, the OB Builders Cup Series. Be there for that. Matter of fact, tune in for all of the races. I mean, we got a great schedule. These guys did a really good job. And then we go to Mr. Rodriguez. I still can't remember what the running joke is in this league about Mr. Rodriguez. Yeah, Mr. Rodriguez, whoever that is.
That's the name of the track, Brandon.
No, I know it is. I know it is. I'm just saying they were joking around earlier in the week.
That's okay. So I can run you through that running joke. There's a running joke here in the community here for the Moonshiners Racing League, because when they put the original schedule out for this league, the only thing they had for when they go to the Mexico City race is all it said on the schedule was Hermanos Rodriguez, and Blaine Wilson quite literally just typed Hermanos Rodriguez, and that's been a running joke ever since.
Yeah, that's why I said Mr. Rodriguez. It sounds like a name more than anything, so it's super funny. All right, getting back to the racing here. Randy Mullins is still 8 seconds back. I saw him lock up a few times going into turn 1, so I don't know. Well, I think, unfortunately, we're just going to have to say with 8 laps to go, unless he makes a second up a lap, this is all Shane Davis's race. Kenny Coppola 4 seconds back. Matt Cox, after a spin early on, if he could finish P3, what a comeback that would be, and Alex Coffey as well with that spin in turn 1. Victor Fluger, he's going to get a top 5 out of it if everything goes the way it is. Tim Wortman after that amazing save on the back straightaway. And Jeffrey Taylor after going a lap down earlier on in the race, he could get a top 10 out of this.
Yeah, coming up to take, I believe, 7 laps to go for Shane Davis. And he has been dominating here tonight. I mean, that has been a dominating car. Randy Mullins dominated stage 1, but ever since then, it has been the Shane Davis show.
Taking a look at a replay here. 24 machine, 45 machine of Johnny Shade in front of him. Yep, we've seen that a lot tonight. That's the same spot that we've seen a lot of people self-spin.
Yeah, very, very difficult part of the track. We have been harping on it all night. That is the slickest part of the track. And turn 11, turn 12 catches out another victim as we tune back into Shane Davis and now back to Kenny Coppola. There's your first and second place drivers. You see the gap back to Randy Mullins and Matt Cox right behind Kenny Coppola. But like I said, Shane Davis has just left everyone in his dust.
All right, and our producer is just giving us some information. I'm going to get that written down so that way we can give it a shout out again. Also, before we do that, if you guys want to show some love to our producer, if you scroll up in chat, Stam Studio Network, go give his channel a subscribe. Anytime they go live, give them a like, tune in. Lots of entertaining content over there. I know that we'll probably be doing some work for them down the line. There you go, Nick. Thank you for plugging the channel. Man, 6 laps to go. Here we go.
Yeah, 6 laps to go here at COTA. Race starting to wind down here. A lot of people, there's a few people that are probably saying, finally, this race is almost over. But for others, this has been a very good, very entertaining race to watch. And Shane Davis, like I said, just putting everyone to work. He is just working this field right now.
Yeah, at this point with 6 laps to go, I have no doubt in my mind that Shane P. Davis will be talking to him in VanLilly Stickers victory lane at the end of this thing. He has just put on a show. The strategy has worked very well. And I'm honestly really surprised that no one counteracted that strategy. It worked so well in stage 1 and stage 2. I'm honestly so surprised that we did not see anybody, do the same thing that he did, because, Mullins would be up there battling with him right now. He would have only had to, maybe be behind Kenny and Matt, and he'd have a lot better of a chance. But 7.4 seconds back with 6 laps to go, coming to 5 to go. Still a great race, great show from everybody, no matter what. We've seen a lot of comers and goers, a lot of spinners who've come back up through the field, but it doesn't matter. If you have that road course niche and you spin around, you can get back up there, just like we see Alex Coffey doing.
Yeah, that's another thing. I mean, with the strategy, I want to talk about real quick, but with the strategy, I mean, the way this race was set up, there really isn't another counter to undercutting like that. I mean, the only other counter would be a massive overcut, but I mean, that just isn't possible with the way the stages fell tonight. So, I mean, Shane Davis, good on him for figuring out how to take advantage of the stages here. I mean, I've obviously gave up a ton of stage points, but I mean, it's going to get him the race win and get him locked into the playoffs here later on this year. But like I said, there just really isn't another counter to being able to undercut like that, especially with the way the stages fell.
Well, we did have that $100 bet earlier, and obviously I'm not going to ask for it. But if you were serious about that 100, let's find a charity, get it to a charity. I think that would be a great cause for tonight's race. Shane Davis on board with him now. Just a great camera pack that we have, that Sean and DJ have put together for us at Ballin TV. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in. We've had really good viewership all night. Chat has been the charity of Crazy Chuck's Moonshine. Oh my Lord.
I was getting ready to read that one too. I mean, if we're actually serious about sending some money to charity, I got a really good charity that I love supporting. Stand Up to Cancer.
I was gonna say, if it's Texas Tech, get out of here. don't do nothing.
Stand Up to Cancer is a very, very good cancer research project that's been running for a long, long time. I've run multiple events benefiting Stand Up to Cancer. I ran a very, very popular, actually, 24-hour endurance event at Sebring back in late 2020, and we ended up raising, I think, almost $6,000 for Stand Up to Cancer. So Stand Up to Cancer is a charity I very much love supporting, and just want to try and get their name out there as much as I can. Stand Up to Cancer, very, very good charity to support if y'all want to.
Absolutely. 4 laps to go. Shane Davis, 4.4 seconds out in front. Cox, Mullins, and Fluger, Jesus, round out the top 5. Rogers, Coffey, Wortman, Fetterplace, and Taylor round out the top 10. Blaine Wilson could sneak his way into the top 10. Here comes Randy Mullins up to the back bumper of Matt Cox coming down the back straightaway. Will we see him dive to the inside? We will not. He's going to stay in line. But how much does Randy Mullins have left? All over the back bumper of Matt Cox.
Yeah, he'll be able to get up into third if he's able to make a move on Matt Cox. Matt Cox is struggling for tire wear right now. That car is all over the place. Those front tires are dead, and those rear ends are not far off that as well. So Matt Cox on the struggle bus to end this race as we're coming up on 4 laps to go here from Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, and this is for a podium spot. So we'll have to keep our eyes on this. And one of the things I like that we always do is we always interview the top 3. And Nick, I don't know about you, but sometimes it's just a little extra to push harder. I mean, you always want to talk to the broadcast booth at the end of the night.
And the lap
Big
car
spin.
gonna mess up Matt Cox. It's gonna allow Randy Mullins to the outside. We're gonna have a side-by-side battle up into turn number 1 here. Mullins
contact.
gets clear for a second. Matt Cox, though, gives him the bumper. Mullins gonna return the favor, gonna do the crossover. Get back on the outside for turn number 2. Gonna let him have the position as they set up for the S's, though.
What a move by Matt Cox. I mean, he made a mistake coming out of the last turn, and then going up into turn 1, he gave a little bit of a bump to that 54 machine, and then Matt Cox parked it right in front of him at the top of the hill, and then they battled through the S's, and here goes Randy Mullins giving him a bump back, but that's going to hurt Mullins more than it is Cox.
Oh, Mullins got to slow down. Mullins had a slowdown. That's why he had to fall back off Matt Cox there. Just going to look at a quick replay here of that battle. Heading up into turn number 1. I'll let you take this one, Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, they're side by side going uphill. He gets to his quarter panel. Bam, right there. Hits him, gets the 54 out of shape. Matt Cox takes the defensive line. Boom, parks it right in front of him. Kills the 54's run. He's got the preferred line on the inside, and the 54 just has to give it up to him and set up for the next corner. And then coming up is when he gets that slowdown through the S's. You can't really do much. We saw the mistake earlier between Pfluger and Shane Rogers. And then right here, coming up to the back bumper, cuts that right there. Bumps him. Yeah, got to slow down. I think he had the slowdown before he gave Cox the bump, so maybe that was just a little bit of a, hey, man, I don't appreciate what you did going up into turn 1. 2 laps to go.
Shane Davis just took the 2-to-go signal here at Circuit of the Americas. Just looking to get this car back around to take that white flag. And it'll be about another 3.5 miles before Shane Davis can officially say he's won this race. But we've said it a couple of times here, that 79 has just been class of the field here today. Ever since about the drop of the green flag for stage number 2, it has been all Shane Davis. And he has really put this league on notice. He is here to play this year. He's been up there for the first couple of races, but this is the first time he's actually put a stamp on one of them.
Yeah, your points leader, Shane Davis, swept the stages last week. I believe won a stage in Daytona as well. Leads double digits, 29 over the next car in front of him. Didn't collect any stage points today, I don't believe. But like 2. I was, he got 2. But like I was saying earlier, when you're the points leader, you're not going to care about these stage points. You want this win. You want to lock yourself in.
Yeah, coming through turn 17 now, the number 79 is Shane Davis. He's going to take the white flag here from Circuit of the Americas. 2.6 miles left before Shane Davis can officially say he has made the 2025 playoffs here for the OB Builders Cup Series. Working his way up into turn number 1. And man, this is going to be a long time coming, it feels like, for Shane Davis. Had a stage win at Daytona and looked like he had a fast car at Atlanta before getting mired back in some traffic. Now looks like he's actually going to be able to put a stamp and finish one off here as he works his way through turn 6A. Now setting up for 7A and 7B, getting ready to head for turn number 9 in the hairpin. Got Johnny Shade right in front of him that he's got to deal with in terms of lap traffic, but other than that, it should be smooth sailing all the way home for Shane Davis.
Yep, Shane Davis, he can, honest to God, run half throttle around the entire track, and they will not catch him. Shane Davis, the strategy, we're going to talk to him about it in the interview all day long. Calculated, cold, no mistakes. And here he comes. He's going to win the race at COTA over these last few turns. We're going to give it to you, Nick.
Coming through 13, 14, and 15, working his way past the Tower of Americas for the final time here tonight. works his way into the Whataburger turn. Turn number 16, and finally, final corner for Shane Davis coming through turn number 17. Shane Davis is going to win here at Circuit of the Americas, and it wasn't very close at all. Shane Davis takes his first win of the year.
What a win for Shane Davis. Your points leader just going to extend that even more. Now, these race results are subject to change from mistakes as we wait for them to come across the line. Man, what a win for Shane Davis. We all thought that Randy Mullins was going to win this race. Even a lot of the drivers thought Randy Mullins was going to win this race. He's going to come home P4 if nothing changes. Kenny Coppola, P2. Matt Cox, P3. Oh, Randy Mullins not happy. Not happy
at
to
all
talk after the race. Nope.
No, he is not happy, and for good reason. But now that we have finished this race, we'll go ahead and send it to our final commercial break of the night before we get into our post-race show here from Circuit of the Americas. Stay right here. We got race results and post-race interviews coming your way next.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back live from Circuit of the Americas here for the post-race show here on Ballin TV. We'll run through our race results here real quick, and it was a pretty good race here tonight from COTA. Shane Davis takes the win here tonight. Kenny Coppola rounds out in second place. Matt Cox takes the final podium spot, finishes in third position. Randy Mullins finishes in fourth. Victor Fluker takes home fifth spot with Sean Rogers, Alex Coffey in sixth and seventh. Tim Wortman Jr. finishes eighth. Brandon Fetter place in ninth, and Jeffrey Taylor going to round out your top 10 here tonight. But like I said, very, very fun race here tonight. Shane Davis ends up taking the win. We'll go ahead and talk to our top three real quick. First up, going to be the number 32 of Matt Cox. You got a copy, Matt?
Yep, I got you.
Well, you ended up leading some laps early on in this race, I believe at the start of stage 2, and then had yourself a little spin. Kind of talk us through, having that spin and what you had to do to get back in the right mindset to come home third tonight.
I'm honestly just happy to be here. Yeah, definitely stepped on it there in the little short shoot there. Older tires and just trying to go fast, but really just strategy. Try to stay up front, only pit once, and then flip the last stage, and it worked out and ended up taking home a podium. So can't be mad about that.
Now, we saw you and Randy Mullins have a pretty good battle heading up into turn number 1 with about 4 laps to go, and then y'all ended up making a little bit of contact. We saw Randy Mullins displaying his frustration there after the checkered flag. Was there any malice in that, or was that just good old hard racing?
Yeah, I honestly don't even know what happened. I'll have to look back at it. So no malice, nothing crazy, just hard racing. If I get in front of him coming out of turn 1, then I'll be in front of him through most of the next section. So yeah, he was coming in fast, so just happy to stay ahead and get third place.
Yeah, you ended up third place here, and finally we get to go to a normal track next week in the form of Phoenix. How are you feeling for that one, going to the dog leg of the desert?
Yeah, I like Phoenix a lot. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I anticipate finishing well, so we'll see what happens.
And finally, anyone you got to thank? Who gets it done for you?
Yeah, I mean, I got to thank Shane Davis and Kenny, the two guys in front of me. They spent a lot of time with me, last night and the night before, really trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong and how to get faster. I started the week, running 140s, not very fast at all. And then even up to last night, I was still putting around in 138s. And yeah, after working with them, they really helped me out and got me moving. So thanks to both of those guys.
Well, congratulations on the P3 tonight, Matt. Hopefully get to talk to you next week.
Yep, hopefully. We'll see.
As Matt Cox, your third place finisher, and now Brandon sitting along with your second place finisher, Kenny Coppola.
Yeah, Kenny, what a strong run for you tonight. P2 started 3, so up 1. Tell me about, I mean, I did not take you for a road course racer, and tonight you and Shane blew my mind with how fast you guys were. Kind of talk me through how you prepared for this race and how it feels to bring it home P2.
Well, I used to be a road course ringer. I lapped the field a couple years ago at Sonoma, and I think it put a fire in everyone's ass to start coming out here and putting in work on the road courses. And now I'm probably second best. Shane had a hell of a run tonight. He put in so much work this week and just ran a flawless race. We were on the same pit strategy, and I figure I might have a shot at the win, but a couple little mistakes here and there, and we'll come home P2 though. Got pretty good points, no stage points, but we're sitting good in the point standing, so we'll take it.
Yeah, and I know Nick is going to ask Shane about that, but kind of walk me through from your perspective the strategy. We were talking about it all night, and we were so shocked that no one counteracted it in stage 2. I mean, was this something that you guys had planned out, just being able to see, okay, well, we're going to get a caution, we're going to have a lap, and then we're going to pit, and so really you're not really running 25 laps at the end of the stage. So kind of talk me through, like, when you guys decided to do that and just how much it helped you with your track position at the end of the race.
Well, my initial plan was to pit one time, kind of like what Cox and Sean Rogers had done. And talking to Shane before the race, some intel that he collected was tires are going to make a huge difference. So even 2 laps on fresher rubber here just give you that little bit of extra grip. It's so hard to pass now that they've gotten rid of a couple of the long straightaways and passing zones on us. It's so hard to pass. Even a lap or 2 better tire will give you that extra grip you need out of the corners to make moves when you need to. So the two-stop strategy give away stage points. That's why we finished 1-2 out here tonight.
Yeah, well, you guys did one hell of a job. Before we let you go, who do you have to thank that helps you get it done every week?
I want to thank all the guys at Beast Mode Performance. We put in a lot of time to get setups that are fast, and Team Watson Racing setups I built for them. Boomer Button Box, Kistler Rod, Icon Apparel, and want to thank Shane for coming out here, putting on a show, and pushing me to be better.
Well, Kenny, thank you so much. That's your P2 finisher, Kenny Coppola, who put on one hell of a show tonight. And now we have Nick Stein down in VanLilys Stickers Victory Lane with your race winner, Shane Davis.
Shane Davis, absolute domination post stage 2. Just walk us through that strategy. I mean, me and Brandon were talking about it up here. What made you realize that, I mean, cutting the stages short like that was going to be so much faster compared to just pitting at the stage?
Really just doing a lot of research throughout the week and running a lot of official races, and we ran a couple league races this week, and just some advice. The only thing I knew, I was going to pit before the stage, and I was going to have to eat the stage points, unfortunately, to keep my track position. But the tire strategy, I have to thank Sean Conklin for that. But I just didn't know if I was going to take tires or not, and I ended up taking tires, and it worked out in the end. But all along, I knew I was going to have to give up my track or my stage points to keep track position, to keep my car clean.
Now, one question I did want to ask is, we saw a lot of people struggling to keep the rears on it on a long run. Was there any struggle for you at all, just trying to keep the rears on it and just not try to overheat the tires at all?
No, not for me, actually. It's probably quite the opposite. I actually started, once I got my lead out, I actually started underdriving the car quite a bit, trying to, be mistake-free, and that actually ended up costing me a lot of time at the end. And so really just keeping the rears on it was nice for me. But I've had a lot of practice. I probably have 35, 40 hours in this track this week.
Well, looking ahead to next week at Phoenix Raceway, I mean, that's historically been a good track for you, I feel like. I've commentated a few leagues you've run, and you've won a couple of races there. How you looking forward to that race? I know you're really good there.
I really enjoy Phoenix. I think it's going to be fun, but I think qualifying is going to be everything. It's going to be, it's hard to pass there this year. They've changed the tire model up a little bit. And it's just really hard to pass there. So it's you can air block really easy if you know what you're doing. And again, it's going to be a track that's going to be interesting for strategy because you're going to need track position.
And final question for you. Who gets it done for you? What helped you get this win here tonight?
I got to think of all the guys at BMP. We spent a lot of time practicing this week. This week I was on a Ryko performance setup. I got to thank Sean Conklin. I did a couple coaching sessions with him this week and really helped get my times down and just be a lot more consistent with it. All the guys at BMP are incredible. They help us on Sunday nights. We get together and test and just push each other just to get the fastest times out of the cars that we can get. And I got to thank my wife and you guys for putting on a great broadcast.
Well, you finally pulled a win out here to start the season, obviously having a couple of struggling races there at Daytona and Atlanta. Congratulations on the win tonight, Shane.
Awesome. I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, good job, buddy.
That was Shane Davis, your race winner, and that'll do it here for us tonight from Circuit of the Americas. Brandon, I'll ask you again, what did you like about this race? There was a lot to like, but I mean, just walk us through your thoughts for this race.
Man, it was just, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to watch. The different strategy, all sorts of different spins and chaos happening all over the place. But it really is one of the best road courses that we have on the schedule. We'll have to see how it goes when we go to Mexico later in the year to see how good that's going to be with these heavy stock cars. But I look forward to the rest of the road course races this year. If this is how it's going to be, they can drag out a little bit. But we had a lot of fun tonight, a lot of things to look at. And man, those two boys up front just had the right strategy, calling out the young phenom Sean Conklin. Help! I never thought I'd hear the day where a grown man is having a younger iRacer help him out. Usually it's the other way around. So good to see. No, seriously, it's good to see that. Very good to see that.
Yeah, Sean Conklin, one of the fastest on iRacing, dominated officials at COTA last week. So very good to have his help if you're a person like Shane Davis trying to get locked into the playoffs, which he ended up doing here tonight from Circuit of the Americas. But that'll do it for us here tonight from Ballin TV here and the Moonshiners Racing League. If you enjoyed the show, go ahead and give us a sub, like, follow, do all what you got to do to get this show out there a little bit more. But like I said, that's going to do it for us here tonight from Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. We'll catch you next week in Phoenix, Arizona for the OB Builders Cup Series race from Phoenix International Raceway. Y'all have a great night and stay safe tonight, guys.